Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed, and we are creating a new psychological and spiritual model for human beings because it's important to recognize that there are different sorts of people out there. Yesterday, or last time, we reflected on the fact that Socrates said, hey, the worst condition of the soul that you have to be on guard for is being blocked to the logos. We call that a pathologos. But in the Phaedo, on his last day on Earth, he actually said, by the way, the worst conclusion you can come to is that to give up on the logos, or the logos is bad. And people come to that conclusion because other human beings have betrayed them or let them down. We are learning why that is. We created a graph, the Pathologos market share graph, that shows as your market share in something, as your power or ability, or what else do we put in there? The time, skill, power, market share increases in anything, so too the likelihood of a pathologos expression of that logos. So if you're learning the logos, or logos means the understandable, intelligible order of something that allows you to function through it. Of course, Socrates talked about recognizing that there's a pattern and harmony to music, and then wondering, hang on a second, is there a principle of order or rationality that music participates in? That's its cause, leading him to become curious about philosophy. Now we are therefore doing a logos of soul or spiritual development, in that we are creating a model of the different kinds of human souls that develop, or the stages of development that a soul will go through. And that has to include, like every art, an ideal at the end of it. So the ideal state of being and all of its lesser stages leading up to that, allowing us to recognize the different states of being, states of mind, ways of being of people. Because, that's what Socrates is talking about. He said, hey, people will let you down. People will let you down. And this map, this graph that we've made, shows us why. As people participate in the logos, the likelihood of their pathologos kicking in eventuates. For some, that might be really quick. There are some people simply talking back to them triggers their injustice. Some people can follow an idea for a very, very long time before their pathologos kicks in. The way their pathologos kicks in can be different. Some might get really belligerent or violent, or just shut down or play the victim, or get real racist or sexist all of a sudden. That's what we're understanding. The different stages of development allowing for a greater participation in the logos, and characterized by a different expression of that pathologos block. Notice there's only two things. Well, we have the x-axis, market share or time spent in something, or level of development in something. Logos is the method that to reach our goal. Pathologos blocks the logos. It's the unjust expression of the justice of the logos. So, depending on who you're talking to, yep, they'll betray you. They'll betray you in a kind of a way. Or shut you down, or abuse you. And they'll have their pathologos beliefs to justify why it's okay. You're a heathen. You're a Antifa. You're a woke. You're an immigrant, and immigrants are evil by nature. You're an illegal. And of course, you have to learn a lesson: punishment. All of this shit is bullshit, of course, but that's how it works. Our job, therefore, as human beings is to discover and follow the logos, applying it to our highest goal, knowing the self, our highest state of mind or experience of reality, and to be able to function through that state of being in a good way, providentially. Knowing the self, state of mind of being, and functioning through the art of understanding the dialectic. The first, second, and third hypothesis giving us the threesome of the ideal self. That's our goal, but also our goal is to the mastering of the logos, the dialectic, also has to be applied to the pathologos. Otherwise, your goal is down here. You start to develop, and then pew, and that's where you end. And then you die that way. Having lived a life of injustice, suffering, blocks, passing on your injustice to whoever you have market share or power over, and you have to face the repercussions of that, and how you die and where you go after in your reincarnation, says Socrates. Socrates says, hey, by the way, it's not the logos at fault. You were participating in the logos, and then you were betrayed by someone who was blocked. Because everyone is part of being human. Everyone is who hasn't gone through the dialectic properly, freed themselves from their problems. So it's not the logos at fault. It's your lack of mastery of the logos because you didn't apply it to the person you were talking to recognize their state of mind. Yes, they betrayed you, and yes, it was unjust, and yes, they shouldn't have. But had you applied your logos to understanding the different states of mind, you could have judged that person and not trusted them in the first place. Now, very difficult to do if you're a child stuck in a house with parental figures and you are dependent on them and you haven't mastered the logos because you're just a baby. Meaning, this very interaction Socrates warned us about on his last day before we murdered him for because of the blocks of the ignorant. That very thing he warned us about, we all face in childhood, and that's where we get our pathologos. Instead of recognizing that we were betrayed by an unjust way of being, we take the blame for our parental figures who appeared knowing, just, loving. The image, so if we have the first, second, and third hypothesis, the triad of the self, they appeared to be like the second. And they communicated to us in a way that diminished the self. And in that interaction, there was no logos, there was no questions, there was no dialectic. But we felt like they were passing on a providential teaching, the inverse of the third. So, the vice version of virtues was the conditions for our developing the pathologos and accepting this block to the pathologos from our parental figures. It's the same graph. It's the same graph. Finishing either in our goal the mastery of, or following the logos to understand or see the inherent logos of self, the intelligibility of mind or reality or being, and functioning through the dialectic of understanding. There is our threesome of self. Or, if we don't, see, the dialectic is the functioning. If we don't do what we do here, learn how to think, learn the dialectic, we will end up with the false image or mask of self, our negative states of mind instead of the high one. And of course, not functioning through the dialectic, but in a negative role. That will repeat, continue, and be stagnant. That's the pathologos. That's your life. That's the life of every human being because of this graph that applies to everything. Any art, but the highest, of course, the self. Philosophy. True philosophy. Real philosophy. So we take the blame here to accept a certain role within the family. Certain states of mind are allowed. Ever notice that certain families don't laugh or only yell or are super stern, or from cultures that are quite quiet and don't say much? Certain states of mind that are allowed because they do not challenge the pathologos way of being of the family. And to take the blame for that injustice, you accept that insult to the self because you don't know any better. Therefore, our goal is to surface this unsuspected false image of the self by examining the negative states of mind that come up as we seek our goal, because only as we seek our goal do we trigger the downturn in the market on the graph. So our goal is to explore this that comes up, the states of mind, your functioning. Now it's kind of working backwards. You don't notice there's a problem until you notice, hang on a second, I failed. That's the conclusion. I failed because I was doing something bad. I was sabotaging myself in some way. I was acting inappropriately for the situation, a negative role. Hey, and by the way, when I was in that negative role, now I can ask myself the question, notice self-reflection, ousia. What was the state of mind I was in from which that negative functioning happened? Now we are discovering that this is a human principle. Therefore, everyone who has increased market share, be they the billionaires, the political power people, the religious officials, they're all incredibly unjust. We are understanding why that will always be the case in principle. Because as they have the market share, so too the inevitability of them using the exact opposite. So the politicians who are supposed to care for us are murdering us en masse. Not just to amass more wealth, but as the Epstein files are being released, that we are learning that they get a sick pleasure out of watching people suffer and die. Yep. billionaires too are in those files doing the same thing, while being extremely cruel to the people they're supposed to be looking after, their employees. Same thing for religious officials. Their job is supposed to help people through this, when in fact, like Sneezius, they're doing the exact opposite. They are sowing doubt and fear and propaganda and brainwashing into people from a young age with threats of hell or other terrible things to prevent the developing of understanding for belief or faith. It's inevitable. Our job as human beings is to recognize this as a principle for everyone. Some people more often with greater depth, the more ignorant, of course. The people who have never reflected on themselves, so people who grew up in privilege and wealth often have never reflected on themselves. And they've often, their parents have often been cherished as, oh, they're billionaires, or the political elite, or they're a high-ranking religious official. You could never question them. So least likely to question their unjust teachers, to become loyal to them. So again, people from a billionaire family, a political family, or a religious family, more likely in greater depth. So our job is to surface that. When do we reach a failure? We will only recognize if we have a high goal. So start off with setting a high goal. You realize you have a failure. Therefore, you can ask, what was the role that I was in? Here. This part of the negative triad, the dark triad, the devil's triad, the Bermuda Triangle. Then you can ask, what state of mind was I in? That's your time machine. That's your DeLorean. Because that state of mind you can trace back through your past. When did I feel this last week? When did I feel it last year? Did I feel it at certain key moments in my past? How far back can I go? Because our job is to find where did this play out first? This graph play out first? When was I, as a child, seeking my goal of logos, self-goal, self-understanding, self-reflection, self-curious, not a slave to the family bullshit, and my parents came in and said, not in this house. That would require us to reflect on our way of being, and I'll be fucked if I'm doing that, says every parent ever. The way it is. So our job is to find where that happened to us. The state of mind is our time machine back. Because this mask we have, we don't know we carry. It's what we think ever since this moment here in our past. That's been the image of the self that we've worn as a mask. That's become our identity. We've been negative character maxing. You've heard of looks maxing, where people smash their face with a hammer to get a stronger jaw, or some crazy shit like that the kids are doing these days. To looks max, character maxing. We've been doing the negative version of that because our whole life has been playing out this drama, solidifying that role, solidifying that state of mind, to the point with, you see some old people, their state of mind is caked into their face. You ever seen that right-wing podcast scammer who became FBI director under Trump because his job was to lie? And that's all he did. He lied for a job because he pandered to the right wing. That's where you make the money, apparently, the grifting. Kash Patel, he looks permanently in a state of shock and disbelief because that mask that he has of a child lying quite obviously is baked into his face now. he spent his life solidifying that negative state of mind, solidifying that negative role, the child scamming and lying to get out of trouble in his upbringing. The mask, or the thing that we take as ourself, we don't know because we just take it for granted as ourself. So much so that it's very difficult for people to wake up to their purpose, true philosophy, because everyone thinks, I know what the self is, so why would I learn? It's one of the difficulties that we have here. Hassan Piker has 50,000 Twitch followers, although he's been recently banned by pointing out that Zionists are horrible, genocide-doing. He called them pigs, which apparently you're not allowed to say of the Zionist Jews playing out that negative role from that negative state of mind that they identify. Notice they call themselves Jews. They don't say, this is a theory, this is a hypothesis that I can change my mind about. It's my identity. Now, of course, you could say, well, not all Jews. Some are Zionist Jews. Some are different sorts of Jews. The principle is the same. Any mask that you identify with, because beliefs are not you. It's just a way of thinking you get from your childhood. Ever notice that Jewish babies have Jewish parents? And Mormon babies happen to have Mormon parents? Of course, because we're finding out where beliefs come from. It's a belief. Beliefs are human sickness. Understanding is what beliefs block. We've understood this a lot of different ways. We've defined it. It's not an idea. Anyway, Hassan has 50,000 when he's back on Twitch after his ban for, I guess, telling the truth in a way that threatens the capitalists, the political class, and the religious class who are oppressing humanity by venerating their particular pathologos. The other guy who's well known, Asmongold, he's called. His whole life is, his role is to pander to the pathologos ignorance of those people in power. They have 50,000 each and they should be in my channel. Many are saying
brain rot escalates.
They're doing brain rot by not being in this channel, right?
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Many are also saying that too. Why does my soundboard sound funny today?
The hell's wrong with you people? Sick freaks.
Maybe it's just a bit quiet. Let's see if that fixes it. Oh no, maybe if I boost it to here. Hold, please. Then I turn it up. Yeah. No, not this one. Whoops. This one. Oh, no, it is on max.
Like literally, suck my dick, dude.
Calm down.
It's a guy whose head appears to be on backwards, and then half lady.
Half lady. Okay, turn it up here. Go to 20.
What the hell kind of a show is this? What is this, the comedy mothership?
I guess so. Alright, that's fine. I'll keep it there. Okay, one more.
Gooner bait.
Alright, too quiet. Gooner bait. Hold. Okay, I'll make it 20 here. I'll turn it down on the thing.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
Thank you, Emma. So, because our mask that we've been solidifying through our life, spending our life doing the exact opposite of what we're supposed to be doing, solidifying the negative triad of self, negative character maxing, We don't know the self. Therefore, we have to see what we must have inferred about the self by recognizing our failures, finding the role that we played in those failures, recognizing the state of mind, tracing it back to the origin scene, re-examining, so doing another dialectic on all of the similar sort of things, the characters, the roles, the functioning of the people in that scene, to judge it accurately in a way we didn't judge accurately because we didn't have the art of the logos that Socrates said we have to learn while we're here. And now with that art in our back pocket, or practicing that art, we can judge this and see what we must have inferred. Now notice, everything we've just said about purifying the pathologos has its expression on the other side of the x-axis, on the positive side. But in a upward movement, when we set a goal that's not failure, but success. Master the text we're reading, learning to read, learning the dialectic, learning to understand your dreams, or understand any art that you're doing that has a pattern, an understandable pattern, has its own version of the logos or expression of the logos. You'll notice when you have successes, so instead of going from failures to your negative role, go from the successes to recognizing the dialectic you must have been following to get the success in that art. What's the dialectic structure of music or cooking or whatever it is that you're doing? Reading, dream analysis, which brings to birth states of mind. That's contemplation. Sustained concentration is meditation. When you are sustaining your meditation to the point where it changes your state of mind, that's contemplation. That's the spiritual process. That's what a yoga is. It's supposed to change your state of mind. That's also true learning. As Socrates points out, the learning that we do at school is the opposite of real learning because it doesn't change your state of mind. What a waste. It's just repetition, rote. In service of the pathologos of those who have the most market share. Learn capitalism and marketing at business school. Learn the love of opinions or philodoxia instead of philosophy at school, etc., etc. The inverse, learn how to venerate ignorance and belief and slavery instead of true spirituality at a religious school. It's the exact opposite, or pathologos inverse of the logos. So instead of that kind of education from that kind of system, human ignorance, pathologos, true education allows you to master the art of understanding. That's not only applicable to whatever you're studying, but applicable everywhere because it's the paradigm. The dialectic is the paradigm of understanding. It's understanding itself. It also changes your states of mind, making it a yoga or contemplation or the spiritual art. As Socrates says, many are the staff bearers, but few are the actual mystics. Thems be the philosophers. My arm's pretty fucked. Playing a lot of guitar, and my strumming arm is really sore at the moment. Now, what we have seen is we can, as that improves, we can map the development through the dialectic applied to this process of reaching our goal. That's the hypothesis of Parmenides. The dialectic applied to the logos most purely. The dialectic applied to the logos most purely. The interaction between your learning and dialectic and the improving, increasing states of mind, that's the ox-herding pictures. And then I have the oracle talking about oxes.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Why is that sound funny on my soundboard today? Pictures, ox-herding pictures.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
There we go. Maybe the compressor's too high. Let me turn it down. Right? Not buffalo balls, but buffalo pictures.
Why can't these guys shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus?
Jesus. So, as we go through this process, we can map those states of mind within the oxherding pictures. So now we have a map of the dialectic, we have a map of how it affects our states of mind. And of course, as we have increased states of mind, we also apply the dialectic to that. And we can not experience the self, but we can, by studying the shadow of self or states of mind that we can have, we can infer the self. That's why any spirituality that isn't based on the logos will fall short. If it's only based on experience, you're limited to states of mind. Of mind, not of self. There's a different state of mind of self. But notice, it's an inference because it's beyond experience, allowing you to recognize what was there the whole time. Just as in the pathologos, so too, our false image of self is an inference. That's why you can't free yourself from your pathologos without going through that process we just outlined. By the way, that process we just outlined, applying the dialectic to the triad of self, in relation to how we unfold our life's drama as we play out our problems, to trace it back to the origin, that's called philosophical midwifery. And as we just said, as this is the graph and the negative triad that every human being is in, we can conclude that a rational society or a good society or a just society requires philosophical midwifery to be mandatory as part of our culture, as part of our education. And if there are people who seek rulership, they have to have, graduated, reached the 7th oxherding picture, freed from their pathologos negative expression of the self, so that when they have market share over religious followers, or because they're a billionaire or CEO, or because they're a politician, they don't do all that horrible, terrible shit they're currently doing on Epstein Island, to the Palestinian people, the prison camps, exploitation of people for personal profit of billionaires. None of that shit, because they've graduated from their pathologos necessarily. Just as not any old person can join the Los Angeles Lakers NBA team. You have to, graduated college basketball. You gotta know how to do this stuff. Necessarily. And what we're living out in real time at the time of this recording is the horrible implications of rejecting or neglecting that purpose for all people. But we have a graph so you can remember it and share it with your friends. But notice the similarity. Self, mind, functioning, success or failure. Definition, demonstration, division, conclusion. It's the dialectic. We are living a dialectic, either the real one or the negative one. Isn't that neat? We can understand when problems happen, why they happen, how to overcome them. So, therefore, just as we said, we have a map of our development upward to reach our goal. the dialectic with the hypotheses of Parmenides, 10 of them now. The 10 oxiding pictures to talk about how it affects your state of mind, both of which lead to the ninth oxiding picture, or the first hypothesis, the self. There's a kind of inference until you recognize it. And then a state of mind that you don't move out of, therefore. States of mind comes and goes as expressions of the ups and downs in your development through time. State of the self doesn't. So you can say, while states of mind are ousia, a constant dynamic, for it to be a dynamic, it has to have a direction or an end or a goal. But because the nature of it is eternity, is a continuous, intelligent dynamic, the goal isn't achieved in the state of mind, but recognizing when you reach the highest of that state of mind, recognizing that it must have a source, that's the inference to the self. Just as once we recognize not the highest state of mind, the earliest expression of that negative state of mind, we can infer the false idea of the self that we've been carrying as our mask. Super important, because as the oracle says,
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
exactly. Feels like a far more fundamental component of themselves because that's what their life has been to now. And it's not in words, so it's hard to see. Because also,
I don't want to eat a monkey.
Joe Rogan doesn't want to eat a monkey.
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Thank you. But also, as I was saying, where's the button?
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Therefore, there was no logic when we got this position, that negative identity with the self that we've been negative character maxing our whole lives. We stupided our way in. Which is why it's very difficult to talk with people and help people who are most identified with their ignorance. Ever tried talking to a diehard Mormon, diehard Christian, diehard MAGA, diehard Jew? Very fucking difficult. It seems more productive to talk about what convinced them in the first place to pick this Bible over that Bible, etc. Go to the origin. Because they didn't logic their way into it, they stupided their way into it.
There's only two options at the end.
No.
Where's the joy? Imagine people changing. The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
Why is that sounding weird? Maybe if I just turn the compressor off completely, maybe that will help.
I'm always good. And that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
No, it still sounds weird.
Hey man, wouldn't some kind of future where people have all their whatever basic needs met of shelter, all this crap, and they could do whatever the hell they want, wouldn't that be good? No, it wouldn't.
But
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
I don't know why it's being weird. Yeah, it's because of this. Hold, please. So, right, yeah, so what made you believe it in the first place? Or, even more ideally, what's a meaningful goal you have? You're a Christian? Master the Bible, which means learning how to read, which means discovering all the things we have discovered in reading this book. The different kinds of interpretations. The original analogy, Abraham as Abraham was instructed to kill, so too the Abrahamics. The difference between Mark and Paul. Going through the Gospel of Paul and seeing where the turning point where Jesus fell into his pathologos problem after his transfiguration experience. So really, master this book would be the ideal one. I think this book is the best book to get into understanding the Bible. There's another book that's also quite good. There's like a list of like about a dozen fundamental tenets. Maybe we've covered it in this book. Maybe I think it's in this book too, called the Kerygma, Keygma or something like that. Kerygma. The fundamental tenets. Jesus was the Son of God. You have to believe the earth is a battleground. The angels will come back when the world is about to end. All that crap. Jesus flew into heaven when he died. What we consider to be a modern... I think it must be in this book. It's been a while since we've gone through the beginning. But the study of that, the Kerygma, is a good one to do as well, because all of those things are in Paul and his bootlicker, John. Not in Mark, not in the Gnostic Gospels. In fact, the opposite is being said in those. All of the stuff to venerate belief. So, what's your goal? Set a high, meaningful goal from yourself, not because your daddy is a Jew or your mummy's a Mormon and you want to be the best Mormon Jew or whatever. Your goal, what do you really, really want? And it has to be something with intelligibility that you can master. You can't just believe your way into nonsense. Because as you approach that, you will surface those blocks to your goal, and because it's a meaningful goal, you'll have the impetus to actually want to do something about it. That's one of the difficulties. Try talking to the most ignorant, self-confident, Dunning-Kruger effect Christians. They don't want to hear about it because they don't want to change. They like being ignorant but cosplaying a Noah, just like Trump. It's like all of the other people in that billionaire Epstein class. No understanding, no ability to do good because they don't have any understanding, just believing they're superior, and then playing their ignorance out on other people. All the terrible shit that they've been doing, but now because they're doing it specifically to, hopefully the same interest in the Epstein billionaire class to show their pathologos, will start putting into the fact that they've been doing it in war for a long time as well. It's never good to kill people. It's fucking stupid. What's wrong with you? This is what's wrong with you. So the stakes, the impetus to address, to surface, and care about addressing the blocks that come up along the way, which will help you free you from your blocks, etc. So, and just as we've said that there would be a pure dialectical model or map for the stages of understanding, and that's the hypotheses of Parmenides, and the states of mind you go through in the oxiding pictures. What we can do now is, because we recognize that both the logos and pathologos come together, you can't do one without the other, we could equally do a map about the pathologos. We could do a full dialectical expression of all of the ways that people block their participation in the logos. And because, as we just said, it's also contemplation, it's also the spiritual method. And that would also mean we could map the states of mind as people themselves individually move through those stages of interpretation. So not negative hypotheses, but because we've already got the negative hypotheses, the inverse hypotheses and the inverse oxidating pictures. My arm is really bad. It's getting worse. That's crazy. So, the material we can work with. As new truth is introduced, or the logos is being seeked and being followed, we have all of these different ways in which we could reject or interpret, which is a block to the logos. So these are all different. We've got 9 interpretations or blocks to the logos. And yesterday we nailed down the ideal. To be non-interpretive, to see reality as it is. So, ever heard the expression, all accusations are a confession, of billionaires, right-wing religious folks? Pathologos, primarily pathologos-driven people. That's because we project our pathologos beliefs onto reality, which is also why they get annoyed with smart people. Smart people who are not as blocked are asking these most ignorant people, most blocked people, to relate to a reality they can't see because they are blind from it. It's their blind spot because of the fake reality that they've been projecting onto the world. Interpretation. Projection. That's why when good people are standing up to the ICE fascism or standing up to for the rights of the Palestinian people not to be murdered by the most disgusting, unjust psychopaths in the world, those very psychopaths say, well, they must be paid because we wouldn't ever care for other people unless we were being paid. We wouldn't ever organize or talk with other people unless we had to get money. Therefore, they must be Antifa. They must be secretly paid. And whenever a right-wing nutjob attacks, like the time of the recording, there was some MAGA person who tried to attack the left-wing politician, I can't remember her name, Omar. And Trump said, oh, that must have been a false flag, must have been staged. Because Trump's assassination attempt was staged, quite clearly. Other things like, many people are saying 9/11 was quite obviously staged. 2 planes, 3 buildings. How the fuck did that happen? Etc, etc. Loose Change is a fun documentary. Yes, projection. Who organized Hamas? That the genocidal Jewish state is using to justify all of the terrible atrocities. Hey, we can do genocide because Hamas. You can't say anything about it because Hamas. We can kill journalists because Hamas. Saying that children shouldn't be abused and sniped just because they were born on a different piece of dirt is Hamas. To care about human rights is Hamas. And remember that thing that we organized? That false flag Hamas thing? 9/11 thing? Assassination attempt of Trump thing? Etc, 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 etc. Therefore, that's what they do. That's what everyone does in their pathologos, because we accept the ignorance of punishment. Any unjust teacher that you've had will look for an opportunity for you making a mistake. You didn't hand your homework in on time, and they'll start licking their lips because now they've got an excuse to play the dip. All of that they're learning about what it means to be a teacher, they will use to fuck with you, to block your learning. Punishment. Punishment, the idea that you can inflict sadistic pathologos torture, but hey, human suffering will help you recover from your pathologos and learn. Never, ever, ever does. It's stupid. But if we allow violence so long as it's punishing the evildoers, then all the sick people have to do is create the conditions for punishment. Oh, we have to kill 1 million innocent Iraq people because of that thing we did, 9/11. oh, we have to genocide the Palestinians and take all their land because that thing we did. I mean, they did it. Yes, they did it. See? Sickness. They will, because that's how the pathologos works. It's reverse engineering. The pathologos is the goal. It's the beginning, it's the first cause, but it's also the end goal. Everything human beings do is in service of being able to play that pathologos injustice on others with impunity. The pathologos Peter's principle. Talked about that earlier. Now, to some extent, not everyone is exactly identical, of course. There are stages, and that's what we're learning. Those 9 classes of interpretations. The extent to which, hey, maybe it's not complete injustice. Maybe it's just not quite reaching your goal. Like Plato, Proclus, and Plotinus. They've done a lot in the dialectic, but they never reached the full mastery of the dialectic because they left out midwifery and dream analysis. But it's always here. Some expression, some extent of this graph we have on the board. So therefore, we can create the inverse hypotheses, pure dialectic, and talk about what it feels like for someone to go from completely blocked to the logos or any new truth or learning, to be open to it a little bit, to pretend to be interested in it, to take a piece of it, but keep all your old beliefs, etc., to seeing reality without that projection that informs the most ignorant, that every accusation is a confession, that interpretation or projection, which means the ideal is to be non-interpretive, to see what's there. So that's the ideal. That would be the end, the last oxherding picture or last hypothesis. To be non-interpretive, to be free of your pathologos. From the text, you would be living your life in conformity with your principles. So doing it sometimes, but not other times, still blocked. You become exemplars of the dialectic. You would not only continue the tradition, but add important elements like what we just talked about, those 2 paradigms of psychic stages of spiritual development of the soul based on how blocked you are from the logos. Participate in living dialogues, reading, and reflecting on what we read. Develop a practice of midwifery to remove. So reading and reflecting allows you to learn the dialectic. Using it to purify your ignorance is midwifery. Using that dialectic to explore your dreams, which is also contemplation, because you're exploring those states of mind with understanding, and sharing it, giving us 1, 2, 3, 4, or the dialectic of the dialectic. Pretty neat. Interesting, he says write new dialogues. So while we can create that new hypotheses map and the new oxherding map based on the interpretation or blocks from the logos, we could create a dialogue where regular people have a conversation about it, talk about it, which is makes it easier to read. Even those hypotheses of Parmenides, which is a pure dialectic, happens as a dialogue between Parmenides and Aristoteles, and has a big introduction where Socrates talks to Parmenides and Zeno. And us getting the terms we need to create this map is from this dialogue that we're seeing here. And we have character expressions. We've got Paul and Mark and John and Plato and Dionysius and Ficini and Snesius. Human beings seem to learn through human dialogue and drama. By the way, that's being in time. As we just said, our negative drama resulting in our failure, we play a role in that drama, or states of mind in that drama, and if we listen, we can infer the negative idea of self behind it all, cause. So too, positive drama. As we apply this to our relationships to give it the different triad, the triad of relationships, the threesome of relationships, this, having this as the ideal with your beloved, and you in a threesome with it, giving us 3 threesomes. So, as you go through that relationship, you are living a drama. In a good way. Learning about reading, dream analysis, midwifery, and writing your own dialogues. As you go through those stages of development to reach this ideal yourself with your friends or partner or beloved. That's where we are. Everything we do. So there's the map, there's the graph, applies to everyone, every human being who's ever lived, every human being who's doing something, every human being who has a goal, or every human being that wants to overcome the problems that they face. Make sure they have one of these on the fridge. Now, that's where we are in the text. Let's keep reading. There we go. And let me drop on you.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
And we are cool. Oh, fuck my shit. Let's jump in.
Spit on me.
Calm down, Emma.
Gooners.
Come on, Emma, you're being a gooner. All right. So, Socrates is here. Let's bring him up. Jesus. Now that's interesting, Socrates. It suggests another member of that of the classes of interpreters. Could they be members that continue the Platonic tradition and add significant elements to it? It seems they may even be those who live their life in conformity with their philosophy and have become exemplars of their philosophy. Socrates comes in and says, I do think you are right about there being a new member of the class. As I consider it, I think they may not be interpreters at all, but exponents of a living tradition. This raises a question. Shall we consider that the divisions we have made are similar to psychological types of man? For in reviewing our divisions, have we not identified certain attitudes or states of mind that block a more full participation in the spiritual life or following the logos? There may be different ways of describing psychological types, but with our work, we know that these divisions mark the degree that one can enter into that spiritual journey. Yes, you are right about that, says Jesus, but we need to place them in a hierarchical order. That means you. I would place Sneesius on top of our list. Then Dionysius the Areopagite next in line. He showed Sneesius, the guy who scammed everyone, knowingly. Internal philosopher and dream analysis. But outwardly being a bishop and not sharing what actually he benefits from and what everyone benefits from. And venerating belief. How did my arm get so bad? God damn. Alright, I'm gonna have to take some, what do you call it? Gives you autism. Ibuprofen? Something like that. No, that's Tylenol. My mistake. I would put Sneesius first, then Dionysius the Areopagite next in line. He showed that the metaphysics of both our traditions can become one. And in that move, we can reconcile the other Abrahamic religions with the highest understanding and insights of our spiritual tradition. Well, only if you actually pay attention to what he's saying and saying, hey, listen, the only legitimacy is the stuff that I snuck in from the Logos. So, be Christian only long enough to get out of it, not to synthesize it. So, Jesus might be telling us where he is at psychologically, his level of interpretation, in that he wasn't able to read what was there to be read or listen to the conversation. He projected his own stuff, causing him to come to a false conclusion. However, in terms of interpreters, we know Sneesius allowed himself to appear as a defender of the core beliefs of Christians, while himself treating them allegorically. Dionysius appeared as a Christian while presenting the core beliefs of Christians allegorically within a Platonic philosophy. So Sneesius did a look at beliefs and stories or mythology through analogy, but to the people he was scamming, he didn't take it literally. Sheep. Dionysius told the believers to only take it allegorically. So we would place Dionysius above Sneesius. Neither made a public presentation of their fundamental views, nor engaged in dialogues with their fellow man. Well, that was Dionysius' whole thing. He was sneaking it in. He didn't make public that he was a lion in wolf's clothing. He was pretending to be one of the wolves exploiting people while actually sneaking in the helping. Sneesius went the other way. Neither made a public presentation of their views, nor engaged in dialogues with their fellow man. So, the fact that that part is in there would be a kind of clue to us what would be more ideal. Talking as best you can with people, including judging their states of mind, judging where they're at on the maps, hypotheses, oxiding pictures, and our new version, how their interpretations are expressed, how they're blocked from the conversation, telling the truth, and finding a way of sharing it properly. Well, beneficially. Now, how would you rank the next in order, says Jesus? Notice, Jesus is leading the charge. Should he be? What's something characteristic of pathologos? The Dunning-Kruger effect. The more ignorant or loyal to your pathologos, the more you think you're a knower. So who seeks positions of power? The most ignorant. Who don't? The wisest. We need to find a way of flipping it. So that the people who have the ability to rule, do rule. We're living a life where we're in a society where the opposite is the case. The least qualified seek positions because of their pathologos Peter's principle. Socrates. You are right placing placing Sneesius as high as you do. As for Dionysius, while he does ignore the role of dreams, he was clearly a major player in both of our traditions. Interesting. For the third place, I would put those loyalists that we mentioned. Now, interesting. So while it seemed like Sneesius was doing really bad stuff to others, he himself wasn't as blocked from his own spiritual development because he was able to participate in the Logos enough to recognize beliefs are stupid, only take them analogically or allegorically, and also Platonic philosophy is true understanding, and also you have to apply that non-interpretive understanding to your dreams. So that's a high level of participation in the Logos. Still got problems, still not telling the truth about his fundamental views, and still not engaging in dialogues. He ain't no dialectician to others. He's not doing dream work with others. So interesting the standards that they're using here. For third place, says Jesus, I would put those loyalists that we mentioned, but they do have their narrow vision that keeps them from seeing the whole, of which we recognize has the meaningful parts. Loyalists. Notice he's skipping over Plato. The most loyal to your pathologos? That sounds bad. Socrates. What shall we say about the last? Shall we say that they are those who deny Paul and falsify our teachings and distort the truth that they failed to see? I do think we should pause and wonder about that group you mentioned that is returning to your own vision and carrying it on to new levels, because we might be able to add them to our divisions. Didn't we just say that they stand apart? Okay, let's keep reading. What is still in progress has yet to reach its fullest flowering. Is he talking about us? We're still in progress, learning how to recover true philosophy and become the new philosophers. As we mentioned, we don't have all of the followers of those other Twitch streamers.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
So you're talking to me?
Absolutely. Sent to heaven where she's seated at the right hand of the Father.
Be a reasonable gooner.
Calm down and be a reasonable gooner. Is he talking about us? We haven't reached our hyparxis or fullest flowering? Or is he talking about the conversation? Is Jesus trying to skip out from making that hierarchical list? Because he's blocked. What have we been talking about? We've been talking about understanding involves finding the parts, as was just said, the parts of the whole, but also hierarchically arranging them within an ordered system. So if Jesus is blocked from hierarchically arranging the ordered parts within a system, he's blocked from the Logos. Therefore, let's talk about something else. Tangent might be an expression of the very block he's in. Therefore, once we nail down this hierarchy based on when the pathologos kicks in, we could apply it to understand Jesus' level of development. Which we could equally do within the hypotheses and the oxiding pictures. It's a win-win. I said, oh, I didn't fix that one. Whoops. Just say a nice thing.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing boundaries.
Yes, we're brave and we're crossing into new boundaries. We haven't finished. Surely we should wait to see what emerges in all its fullness before we bother grading them and including them in our divisions. Still sounds like it's both. We haven't finished our list, and that new philosopher group, the good beans and wonderful noodles of this channel, they haven't reached it yet, so maybe we should hold off, says Socrates. Oh, fuck me, my shoulder. My elbow. Another way of judging them will be to see what opposition comes forward. For that is often another way of judging significance, is it not? Right? The further along the logos, the more likely you are to trigger other people's pathologos. Just think about it. Think about if you are, for example, if you made a law, all these politicians who are constantly lying to us is putting us in a state of perpetual poverty, war, and conflict because of the sadism of their pathologos ignorance of the leaders. Maybe we should make a law you can't knowingly lie if you are a leader, CEO, politician, member of the church. And maybe you shouldn't have media companies like Fox News who always only lie. Now, seems like a pretty easy, cut and dry, easy win, obvious law that will benefit everyone. But because it's so good and universal and true, there will be people who will come out of the woodwork in opposition to what is good and true. We have to address them. That's the pathologos within our society. So as we say, we shouldn't be able to lie on TV. The sociopaths, the most sick fuckers will come at, no, I want to lie. It's a freedom of speech to grift to the world, to lie to people, to exploit people based on their ignorance. Right? So, the oppositions that emerged, have you heard the expression, judge me by my haters? The oppositions that emerge to what you're doing can be a good indication of how well you're doing. What kind of haters come out? Oh, it's the Epstein billionaire class who don't want a law that says you must tell the truth? Oh, must be a good principle then. So, judging, another way of judging will be to see what opposition comes forward. For that is often another way of judging significance, right? The more significant, the more likely you are to trigger people. And also, the worst kind of haters will be triggered. The divisions do cause a set of problems, and the bitter struggle between them is obvious. Ah, good. Struggle between them means a possibility for interaction or movement like the oxiding pictures. Or shall we say that any integration within oneself has its implications on those in opposition? Any integration within oneself. So as you reach your highest goals, integrating, living, being an exemplar and living the true philosophy, it has implications on those most sick or cruel. Hey, who are ICE murdering? Who are ICE arresting? Good people. Who do the fascists target? The thinkers. Shutting down the academies, murdering journalists. Right? Without seeing how it brings about changes among mankind, we cannot really judge the importance of each of our divisions. Oh, good thing we've been using all of these political and social examples are only that. They're examples, they're analogies. It's about our own integration. But it is also essential to look at how we live in the world, especially if part of our job is to share it with others. Also, it can be handy to realize the stakes. But everything we're seeing playing out between the logos and the pathologos in spirituality, with true philosophy opposed to religion, killing Socrates, governance, the right-wing fascists also taking over the left wing, so the people who are doing good, like Bernie Sanders, for example, being shut down. Again, it's a conflict between logos and pathologos. Unionizing versus CEO billionaires, wealth equality versus those who want to have inequality because they happen to be personally benefiting from it right now. It's a metaphor between our own, to help us see our own development. But Jesus is saying, hey, without seeing how these divisions represent stages of, bring about changes among mankind, we can't judge the importance of them. Each of those divisions actually represent stages of man's development. And so they can be called different states of mind. So, states of mind, representing stages of development. There's our keyword, divisions. Now, because we know the word division is one of the pathologos categories, we are being told, so we're discovering a clue, apply the dialectic. And also, bring about changes among mankind. That sounds like the conclusion, or others, how they relate back to the self. So self to self, self to others, states of mind, others to others, division. He gave us that one. Division would be the stage of your development. Conclusion, how others, having been affected by your way of being and your dialogues, how do they relate back to self? He's given us clues on how to read, how to do this. Saying, hey, look, we've been seeing that. So in our little exploration of that graph, we've been seeing, hey, hang on a second. What conclusions do you reach in your life or in your dreams? Successes or failures? By the way, what role do you play? By the way, what state of mind are you in? And by the way, what can you infer about the self? So just as the self, the first hypothesis, self is beyond qualities, we can infer the inherent qualities of the self, the logos of self, from its expression in the second hypothesis. So self can look at itself in the mirror through minding mind. Second hypothesis. That's our upward journey, but also you can look for the false idea of a self and infer that from the negative states of mind that cause your negative role or division, leading to a negative conclusion. So what Jesus is saying here is, hang on a second, for your map, division would be the stages of man's development. Now, the states of mind he mentioned too. We have been talking about states of mind is how the self functions, how we can feel it. So maybe here. The conclusion, or how the others, so you as the self experiencing a state of mind, going through your divisions, those others, how do they relate back to self? Others to self. How does it affect change within mankind? So it sounds like he's given us this one. This would be the stages. We can create a hypothesis that states of mind would be there. This likely is conclusion, but also what would be the definition? What would be the definition for each of these divisions with its states of mind that has an effect on humanity? That's what we're after. That's the big one. How will we define all the stages? Getting closer to this new map. New psychological map for humanity. Pretty exciting? Is it pretty exciting?
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
Yes.
Gooners.
Not good.
Wrong. Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Exactly.
Do a poggers.
We are doing a big poggers by doing so well. Yes, it is true that there is and always has been a fear among those in the lower divisions towards those in the higher. We've also been learning that in our reading. The haters, the chorus, that always try and stop this dialogue, the anti-chorus comes in and says, hang on a second, do you guys have a fear of your own mind? Is that the fundamental war that we are facing? A war on mind, caused by a fear of mind? Caused by the pathologos? Caused by our childhood? Fear of mind. Therefore, those who most participate in mind, those who are the lowest, the most shapes and colors people motivated by shapes and colors, the least intelligent, the least kind, the least creative, will be haters of those who are higher up in the divisions. Judge me by my haters. There has always been a fear among those in the lower divisions towards those in the higher, and most so towards the highest. Big deal for us. Wait. Because we want to get the highest. We are new philosophers, entering the true race of humankind, the true hero's journey, the threesome of self.
Dude, suck my dick.
Calm down.
This is why I love this channel, man.
Yeah. Therefore, as Socrates said, we better master the logos so we can judge states of mind and know how we can share the logos most appropriately, considering the better you are, the more you're going to trigger the worst. And as we want to be our best, a greater danger for us. So, something to be aware of. As someone who has been playing this game for many years, with very few people in this game as well, very few people to talk to, at sometimes no one to talk to, but trying my best to find a way of sharing it with others. Yeah, I can tell you with certainty, doing your best, even engaging in a really good way with other people, can trigger negative responses of others, particularly those in the lower divisions. Not just in the dialogue you're having with the person, of course they can be triggered. Just the other day I was having a decent dialogue with a young man who approached me wanting to talk about his understanding of spirituality. All of a sudden, this thuggish, overweight chud came super confidently over to our conversation. What, no one else was intruding in other people's conversations. But for some reason, this kind of conversation seems to emit a frequency that the most stupid and ignorant feel compelled to intrude. What are you guys talking about? He says. Hey, you guys, I was in the middle of talking. Hey, you guys having a conversation over here? Isn't Jesus good? Isn't God great? Man, Jesus is the best, right, guys? Like, what the fuck are you doing? We're not talking to you. What are you? Who are you? Thankfully, he left. Smug, like a pigeon who has, like that saying, playing chess with a pigeon, knock over the pieces and then shit on the board and walk away smug as though they've won. That's the selling point to the pathologos. It's a certain role that functions in opposition to goodness and understanding, but in as a reward for being an ICE member, being a Nazi to understanding, you can feel like you're superior, despite your ignorance and your blocks. Now, thankfully, he went away. Some people don't. I don't have an answer to that yet. Sucks. Yeah, there's no conclusion to that. That's still a puzzle. Why am I here? Why are we here? Why are the true philosophers here if functioning in a good way as a human being triggers the negative response of the worst people? I guess that's collectively what we see with the right-wingers, the CEOs, the religious officials, the genocide, the slavery, the oppression. They're going after the best people. You protest ICE, you go on a list. You speak out against capitalism, you go on a list. Oh, and by the way, the guy that, one of the people that ICE recently murdered in the street was premeditated. They put him on a list for protesting, and then they executed him in the street with masks on, facing no repercussions. It's weird being a human. Anyway, I haven't figured it out. I guess on Twitch I have a computer screen between me and the weirdos. And because of the way I'm not as, I don't know, famous or entertaining as those other streamers, so people don't really care as much. I guess that's a win. Not really, because it's benefits everything we've been talking about is for everyone to learn and benefits everyone. It's the only thing by definition, so I don't know. It's a puzzle that I have, and maybe if you're here, maybe you've experienced a similar thing. The better you function, the more the haters come out of the woodwork. Hey, we just talked about that in terms of laws. If a law is good, you must tell the truth to the public as a public official or in some sort of public broadcasting. Otherwise, you get the disgusting propaganda of Fox News and the disgusting political class we have currently. That's going to bring out of the woodwork the worst people, because it's one of the best laws or principles of reality that we can live in accordance to by making it a law. Why is that? The graph. The everything graph. What should we call it? Should we call it the everything graph because everything we do as human beings follows this graph? The greater you are doing, the more likely you are to trigger. And without new philosophy, you stay there. Die that way. Having further entrenched your image of yourself, the negative states of mind, negative role, causing an implication on how you reincarnate and what kind of death you have. preventing you from reaching the threesome of self and the true nature of ideal relationships. Before the stream, I was watching a Majority Report clip with
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
calm down, Emma. Emma wasn't on it today,
You can be a gooner.
but she can be a good. It was just Sam. He was talking with a couple of other guests, and he was saying, so these guests do a podcast where they go on a deep dive every episode to different cultures. Like it's guy culture or something, but guys who've like really identified with a certain subject. Like they talked about people who are really into guitars. Their whole life is about guitars, and they go on a deep dive about guitar guys, bowling guys. Hey, welcome, Sus. Welcome. I sure hope
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
I hope your head is quite large and filled with secrets today. Bowling culture. What's up, amigo? What's up is
I'm always good. And that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
I'm being good all the time. What's up with you? By the way, they mentioned that every single one of them has a complaint. They always complain about their wives or relationships. My wife is mad because I bought my 17th guitar. And then all of the other people within the Reddit group are saying, oh, she doesn't understand, and ask her how many hairdryers she has. That'll show her. Notice, it's a principle, it's the same. All relationships have conflict and get stuck in that conflict. They are not going to solve the conflict of that relationship by saying, well, you've got 5 hairdryers, I should have 17 guitars. My wife is mad because I deep fried the family goldfish. Talk about overreacting. Oh my goodness.
Wrong. You're so wrong. But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
But you're allowed to be wrong sometimes, right?
Why can't these guys shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus?
Tell your family to shut up about the fish, whether or not it's about Jesus. Because of this principle, it applies to everything, even relationships. As you progress, sometimes they call it the honeymoon period. As you start to get success, you will play out your learning about your partner, your logos that you've been learning, in its opposite than intended way. You'll play out your problem or conflict. But without doing your human purpose, learning to make use of your understanding, to make use of your mind, your capacity for self-reflection, and directing that self-reflection on the cause of your problems, your capacity for language and communication, and using language to understand and communicate about your problem, if you fail what would seem to be most obvious if you put it in that way, reflect on what's most meaningful in your relationship with understanding in dialogue, then you will stay stuck. In other words, become a true human being, the new philosopher, the dialecticians. Everyone. But through the dialectic, we can realize the ideal relationship, which is another kind of threesome, having this true goal that we're all here to master as intelligent beings, to know the self, to have the greatest state of mind, and to be able to function in the greatest way, most intelligent and caring or providentially. That's the dialectic. That's an ideal for everyone. Therefore, all relationships, if you need to be love and logos, seeking that ideal together, sharing your insights, practicing the dialectic on your insights, your development, your understanding, and your problems to reach that shared ideal. Otherwise, you will be trying to force your beloved to be like your pathologos sickness. They will be forcing you based on their image of beauty and love from their family. Therefore, conflict. And settling. for less than excellence or failure. So what are we going to call this? The everything graph? The everything graph. There we go.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, want to kiss a fox.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
The Oracle has asked us to do that a lot today. The Oracle is on one today.
What the hell's wrong with you people? Sick freaks.
Sick freaks. Don't
Please
kink
end
shame.
kink shaming
Kink
on your
shaming
show.
On this show. It's okay. No end kink shaming. Right, so super important for us because the everything graph, if here we are up here, the goal up here, justice and self-mastery, then everyone's going to be triggered. Everyone's going to be triggered. And yet, our job is to share this. It's a puzzle. Let's keep reading. It's true that there is and always has been. Good to know it's not just my life that's cursed. A fear among those in the lower divisions towards those in the higher, and most so towards the highest. Something to look forward to as we reach the highest. Let's highlight that whole thing. That's super significant for us as we live through time. I don't think we can challenge that after seeing what we went through, can we? Right. Socrates reaching the highest, completing his work, mastering the Logos, perhaps the greatest mind ever to walk the planet. What was his reward? Being murdered by the most ignorant fucking fucks in the world. The academy, true education, learning the Logos, even though they hadn't quite rediscovered midwifery and dream analysis. What was their reward? Emperor Fuckface McGee, Emperor Justinian, trying to institute Christianity, murdered them, burnt the libraries, shut down the schools. And if you ever had a book, even the Bible, you'd be murdered.
I'm just asking for some good. Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Now's a good time to use it. Jesus. Well, he had a higher vision in his third ox herding picture or second hypothesis transfiguration experience. And to reach it, he was talking about the significance of understanding the parables analogically, and was clearly talking about, in Mark and the other Gospels, heaven as a state of mind, not a literal place, you idiots. So, understanding and state of mind. Even though he only reached a certain level before his pathologos kicked in hard, he was still better than all the other people around. Killed the guy. So, very important for us. Hey, even the author of this book mentioned speaking about fighting back against American oppression and the Nazis in power, the pathologos right wing in power. In the 60s, he talked about meeting with the Black Panthers, back when having black skin meant that the people in power would treat you like you are subhuman. You couldn't engage in rationality, all that Jordan Peterson shit and racist brain theory shit. So as the Black Panthers and were fighting for equal rights, or to be seen as human beings, Black Americans, the author of the book we're reading met with them and said, hey, while you are challenging the pathologos way of being of most Americans, you think you're the most hated group in America. Because simply by existing in a rational, good way, by the way, that was Martin Luther King's thing, they call us savages. We are going to prove how good we are by keeping our cool and character in the face of all of their disgusting, sadistic violence in a way that they would never be able to keep their cool. To demonstrate that they are full of prejudice. Now, so the author of this book met with the Black Panthers and said, you think you guys are the most hated because your way of being is better than the people in power, and challenge the family and cultural pathologos beliefs just by being good? I have it worse. I'm a philosopher. I challenge everyone's negative family pathologos way of being. And hey, at least you guys have each other to talk to. Who do I talk to? So, be it Jesus, be it Socrates, be it Pierre Grimes, it's something we have to be aware of as we move into the new age of man, the age of reason, the age of intelligence, true philosophy, and the only way of being that can unite our species, and the only way of being that can solve the human problems that we face. It's necessary. There's a saying, what is it? The first through the wall are the ones that have to get most bloodied. Well, we've got Socrates and Pierre Grimes busting through that wall, so hopefully it'll be a bit better for us. And maybe with our ability to communicate over the internets, like we're doing here, there'll be more of an exponential growth of more people getting involved. And hey, and the fact that the pathologos, back to the everything graph, the fact that there's billionaire, religious, Christo-fascist, capitalist Epstein class can play out their pathologos with nuclear weapons to destroy our entire race. Maybe that, the stakes, this period of time that can end humanity, maybe will result in more people coming on board, giving us more people to talk to. That wasn't available to those other people we mentioned prior to internet and prior to the potential of nuclear Armageddon. I don't know. Is that, am I hoping? Am I hoping? Am I drinking the hopium? I don't know. Be nice. I don't have to have all 100,000 of Hassan Piker and Asmongold's Twitch viewers, but half, 3/4 would be nice, would be fair. Right?
They're secretly turned on by it.
They can be turned on by
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. They can be gooners.
Fuck.
Yeah.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
But we can awesome our way out of those positions. It's a win-win, and I don't have that on the board anymore at the moment. All right. There is and always has been a fear among those chuds in the lower divisions towards those chads in the higher, and most so towards the highest, right?
You sick fuck.
I don't think we can challenge that after seeing what we went through. Can we? And Jesus says, so you are stressing what is behind man's struggles to flourish Oh, already I'm excited by the sentence. I'm savoring it. I'm savoring the sentence. Behind man struggles to do what? Flourish. Oh, I like that word. Fullest flowering, flourishing, hyparxis. Excellent. Make it green. And survive. We just talk about the stakes that might work in our favor as people wanting to share the necessary new way of being, the true human way of being, to make use of reflection and language, dialectic understanding, philodianoia, needed to survive. Behind what you're saying is behind man's struggles to flourish and survive is simply a struggle over what state of mind will flourish and what will not. Wow. Is that it? Do people fear others in different stages? Ever seen like a Hasidic Jew or talk to a someone from one of those Christian cults, like hardcore Christian cults? They're completely different ways of being. Or a Muslim, hardcore Muslim. And they don't get along because they're so weird to each other. And they've been told their whole life that their family way of being is the correct one and the one chosen by God. And God's highest vision is that they should rule the earth. It's always the same. It's always those fake principles. What's Trumpism? This ignorant, fascistic, Nazi, white supremacist, capitalist, bootlicking way of being should be the one that survives. And we are going to send Nazi thugs into the street, KKK members, to murder anyone who challenges our way of being. Same thing for the media. They're arresting journalists now, as the Jewish state, the Israeli state, and the Americans have been murdering journalists reporting against their genocide and fascism for a long time. Is it a struggle over what state of mind will flourish and won't, and which won't? You understand all this as a kind of war for and against certain states of mind. What we've been saying up until now is it is a war against mind, using the everything graph. People motivated by this, by this, their inevitable fate or failures, this state of mind tied to this negative image, and whatever role that's in support of that, be you a propagandist or bootlicker or jackboot thug on the street, whatever, against the mind, the understanding, the self, the logos, the purpose of humanity or destiny, ultimate goal for all of us, our purpose, the purpose. Interesting that Jesus is focusing specifically on states of mind to define the nature of the war that we are in as human beings. We are at war with our own excellence. We are making use of mind to be at war with our own mind. How curious we are as a species. Isn't that weird?
It's a total shit show.
It is a bit of a total shit show.
Gooners.
And there are gooners.
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck. A war for and against certain states of mind. The consequences of this struggle, you say, play themselves within, here we go. Here are all the levels. That's the interesting thing, because what we're seeing is true and universal. You can see it play out in every level, as above, so below, as in the macrocosm, so in the microcosm, or the paradigm. The paradigm means the archetypal model, which is why we've had so much fun today using all of these analogies. And it is fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
It's fun and we have whimsy. Playing themselves, the consequences of the struggle, play themselves out within the family, right? Have you seen people speak up against their MAGA parents or their right-wing fascist parents, or learn that their religion that they grew up in is horseshit, or etc., etc.? We know it. It's a cliche. Oh, Thanksgiving is terrible because Ma and Pa are racist because they watch Fox News only, and Uncle is a conspiracy theorist, and Auntie is a wacko, I don't know, candle astrologer conspiracy theorist. I don't know what the cliche is for Auntie. Within the family, within the city, or the state, as we've been using the examples today, but also in the cosmos itself. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. How is it playing out within the cosmos? Are there other species who have gone through the stage of development? Is there a purpose humanity can serve within the cosmos? Should we learn the nature of our problems, pathologos, and what we have to do to reach our excellence, logos? If we pick up our purpose that as dialecticians, do we serve a purpose within the cosmos? Are there implications as for our species within the cosmos if we don't? And also, these are all questions. How is it playing out within the cosmos? We can see it clearly in the family. We can see it clearly in the city. How's in the cosmos? If our purpose is to reach the mind, and that's one, that would be the intelligence of the entire cosmos, or the intelligence that creates and sustains the cosmos. Therefore, our functioning in time is also the soul. From souls to the soul, or the soul of the cosmos. Are we ourselves experiencing ourselves as individual souls, doing nothing other than playing out the implications of this in conflict with our true nature, the soul of the cosmos? And once we discover the, again, implied, we don't know it because we didn't use reason.
There's only two options at the
Wait.
I'm always good person. No, you're not the one.
Wait.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
We didn't reason ourselves into it.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
So it wasn't the logos that brought us in, so it's inherent or inferred, unsuspected. So we are playing out the Sherlock Holmes quest, the Frodo quest, the Harry Potter quest, to discover the false image of the self that keeps us attached to an individual soul, preventing us from uniting with our true nature as the soul of the cosmos, with the intelligence of mind, and inferring from that understanding and highest experience, intelligence, the self, so we can finally recognize not a self, the self. Could that be the nature of the cosmic battle between states of mind? The pathologos, lesser ones, simply inherited. If you're in a different family, you'd have a different one. If you're in a different time period, different culture, different one. So don't be loyal to it, dummy. If you're born somewhere else, you'd have a different one, and you'd be equally loyal to that. It's a family inherited lineage or family curse that goes back to caveman days, where our species originated. That state of mind versus the true state of mind of the soul or cosmos, the intelligence, and the self. Just as you move towards your goal, your true goal, you can see the drama play out within your family. We're Christians in this house. We're Jews in this house. We support the Palestinian genocide because God said so in this house. We support the killing of Muslims because they don't believe in Jesus in this house. We hate Antifa and the woke in this house because Fox News told us our way of being. Or panders to our family way of being. So, within the family, within the cosmos, and of course, quite clearly within society. Isn't that interesting? The everything map can be applied to everything. Put it on your fridge. Put it on other people's fridges. But stay safe as you do that. Because the biggest chuds are triggered by the biggest chads. Play them so. The fundamental struggle of humanity or man is our struggle to survive our pathologos ignorance and the savagery that results, and also flourish, purification and perfection, survival and flourishing, is simply a struggle or a war over what states of mind should survive and what shouldn't. Hey, those Christo-fascists in America, what do they say? Screw the founding fathers. Christianity, we should all fear God. God-fearing Christians should be the state of mind. And anyone different, we should send to concentration camps. Right? What are the Jews saying about the Palestinians? The state of mind is us Jews. We should genocide the Palestinians. Right? Yes, not all Jews are as fervently loyal to that kind of ignorance and manipulation. But that's what they play to. Trump plays to his Christian base. Netanyahu plays to his Jewish base. So does Hitler to his German base, etc., etc. That the war, states of mind. Consequences of the struggle, says Jesus, plays themselves out within the family, city, and in the cosmos itself. True that, Jesus, says Socrates. And add that each of these states of mind. Oh, this sounds like good already. Each of these states of mind has an image that attracts some. Oh, maybe that's the principle. You remember I was just talking about a second ago? Remember? Even though I'm just having a conversation with someone else or playing music with someone else, relative to how good I am doing in the dialogue or in the music, so too, the biggest morons feel compelled, like moths to a flame, like flies to shit, to charge over and intrude and inflict their ignorance in a kind of pretending to be nice sometimes, but in a furious, fucking dog-like, savage way. I saw a video yesterday of some Hispanic Americans waiting in line at a Pokemon shop. And some white American fascist MAGA nut job felt compelled to charge over and start harassing, abusing, and threatening these kids waiting to buy Pokemon cards because they looked like the Hispanic people being paraded on Fox News that threatens his MAGA way of being. He thought they were day laborers, I think, because they were waiting in line outside the shop to get in. As the evil criminals, according to Fox News, are waiting outside Home Depot to get day laboring jobs because they're not supported by the state at all. Pretty sick. So, how does it work? There are hundreds of conversations happening. Towhead McGee didn't feel like he needed to intrude on any of those. Why was it the best conversation that happened to be being had? Why was it that caused his disgusting way of being? This is why it's important that I become famous as a musician, so I can have security guards. And also, it's important that those security guards understand this. Anyway, find your own analogical equivalent to that. So, certain states of mind have an image. We just talked about the images from Fox News and that dude. That attracts some and repels others. So, not all people. There have been a few people who have been interested in the things that I say and the state of mind from which I say them. Just the way of being of loving understanding. Philodianoia. So, not everyone. Thank fuck. Socrates is talking. The struggle between them, states of mind, underlies the structure of society and plays itself out within each soul. So, that struggle of having that dialogue, triggering the biggest chuds, plays out within society and within each of our souls. Each of these players in these divisions of interpreters finds ways to justify their positions and to vindicate their actions. This is super important. Notice, the right wing have no principles. Religion has no principles other than blindly obey. Capitalists have no principles. It's always one rule for you and another rule for me. So the MAGA people are all, we should find the billionaire pedophiles. Oh, it's our team? Actually, it's not really that important. I don't really care about the Epstein files anymore. No principles. Why? They're not motivated by learning or reason or evidence. They're motivated, going back to the everything graph, they're motivated by this. All of their reasoning is to justify the conclusions they already carry. That's debate. That's why Charlie Kirk was such a dickhead. He didn't give a fuck about understanding or helping college kids learn to reason or dialogue. He was doing the opposite. He was paid by the billionaire sociopathic fascists to use reason and language to come to the conclusion they already had. Same too with everyone on Trump's team. The right-wing podcasters, that's their living. They know their audience are MAGA fascists, so anything that happens in the news, they're going to interpret in a way that justifies their conclusion. That's debate, the opposite of dialectic. Dialectic is learning through reason and evidence, together, step by step, to reach the truth. Debate is confirming your own ignorance. Clip chimping. So the most stupid are triggered by the best. What do? Let's take Hassan Piker, who's someone who's a streamer who is interested in understanding and learning and making a better world. All of the people who follow the right-wing fascist grifters watch Hassan to find an example of him making a mistake or invent mistakes he makes. His dog he has a dog that clipped its claw getting into its little dog bed, and they pretended it was being shocked by a dog collar. Clearly not, but that doesn't matter. Everything they do is clip chimping, trying to find a clip taken out of context to justify the conclusion they want, to vilify understanding and those who have that understanding state of mind, to vindicate, validate, and justify their ignorant, fascist, MAGA, Nazi, bullshit, belief-based state of mind. Always, always, always the same. For instance, Mumdani, who just won governor of New York, ran under the crazy principle to actually give a shit about the people he's supposed to be caring for. Rent isn't affordable. Groceries are not affordable because the billionaire Epstein class are exploiting everyone. There is rampant corruption. There is a middleman between food and people, between housing and people, the landlord class, the corporation class, the insurance class that do not contribute anything but only extract profit and value from people. That's corruption. One politician talking about maybe making life affordable, all of a sudden, all of the worst or lowest in the categories surface and lie about him. Not because anything he's saying isn't true or good, they don't give a shit. It's to vindicate and justify their ignorant way of being that they think they're profiting from. And one of those things was Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker, that guy who has 50,000 of the Twitch followers that should be following me, many are saying,
these absolute dullards, borderline chimps want to kiss a fox.
And if they follow me,
They're secretly turned on by it.
they will be secretly turned on by it.
Wrong. You're
Not
so
wrong.
disgusting. Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
There we go. There we go. Everyone should love those sluts who will be turned on. In one of his streams, he talked about the fact that when American foreign policy is to inflict the most cruelty and harm on everyone to extract profit and enslave and prevent them from unifying to create a better life, then there will be blowback. They've taken that out of context to say, oh, he thinks Americans deserved 9/11. Clip chimping. Purposely lying about evidence and reason because they're not interested in it. Remember what the Oracle tells us?
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid
their way
positions.
into their position. Therefore, they can't stupid their way out.
No, you're not the one
Wait.
that's mentally imagined people change.
Right.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
Because they stupid
People
their
don't
way in.
logic their way into stupid positions. The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
They can't reason themselves out. So that's very, very important. Or, for us, talking with someone who is in good faith. Are you in this conversation because you actually give two shits about learning? That's why it's important to have a goal. Why do you care? Because most people spend their lives trying to pretend to be interested in conversation, but actually don't give two shits. They want an opportunity to crush you the same way their parents crushed them. Because that's the rare time they can be a bully instead of being the one being bullied, and that's why a lot of people have kids to begin with. They can inflict their ignorance onto their kids while cosplaying the Noah, because no one else gives two shits about their dumb opinions, but their kids who are stuck there. Harsh truth about reality for human beings currently. So, if their whole game is like that, as I was talking to that person yesterday or the day before, that chud, oh, hey guys, you have a conversation? Isn't Jesus great? No interest in conversation, no interested in being ruled by the philosopher who was there. I'm in charge because I want to be just like my daddy who was equally a stupid chud. I can bully you pretending to be a Noah the same way I was bullied myself. That's a family dynamic that he suffered. That's playing out in his relationships, even with strangers. That is playing out within society. That's playing out within the cosmos. Therefore, it's important that people speak in good faith, or they actually are interested in learning, which for most people, they have to have a goal. If your goal is to be the best chud in the world, to be the best Christian evangelist or whatever, why would he give two shits about learning? If your goal is to master an instrument, to master a text, to master yourself, to know the nature of reality, to master your understanding, then you've got a reason to learn. Super important. Therefore, the bullshit from the left wing, the Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's of the world, well, we made a good argument, and it's up to the fascists to change their mind and stop murdering American civilians in the street, or child trafficking them because they're brown, or murdering them, or sending them to concentration camps. We've made a strongly worded letter. Fuck off. It's never gonna work, you idiots. Get out of there. Leave. Get someone who knows how to understand what you're dealing with. Because they don't care about reason. They never have. That's why they always lie. By the way, so too, the establishment Democrats, they don't care about reason. If you showed this map to them with reason, they wouldn't care because they're motivated by their own bullshit state of being, state of mind. Cowards. Bootlickers. That's their role within their family, and they're playing it out within the city, allowing the fascists to do Nazi shit while pretending to be against it. You can't support their way of being and then want them and expect them to magically change. You need to understand the nature of the logos and the path of the logos to have the ideal and to understand human problems. Otherwise, you're clip chipping. It's talking to a brick wall. You're not just talking to a brick wall, but by humoring them as though they're interested in evidence and reason, as though anyone who's a Trumper has any sort of rationality or any empathy, you are saying, I'll play along. I'll play the role of the child who lies about their parents being good. So you can solidify your ignorance, which will harm your soul, which will harm humanity, and it will harm the cosmos. Being polite or nice or playing stupid to people who don't care about truth and caring harms everyone. It's not about being polite. It's about being good. So too with dreams. Dreams will give you a nightmare. Not about being kind or nice. Well, it's kind. Not about being polite or nice. It's about being kind and good. Super important, especially as we recognize we are being the greatest chads.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
And cutie pies. Meaning we are going to trigger all of the chads. Because they're at a war against their own excellence they see reflected in us. They're at war with their own mind. So anyone who's exemplifying good states of mind or self will challenge their pathologos, triggering, what do they call that? Like a sleeper agent? Like the Winter Soldier? They say the Winter Soldier is a secret murderer, and all they got to do is say the right words, and he's triggered, and all of a sudden he'll become a murderous Nazi agent or whatever I think Nazi. That's human beings, and the secret word is the logos. Hey, I was banned from the Majority Report chat for using the word logos, even though I was agreeing with Emma.
Making ice cream's a good and courageous thing.
Notice, they didn't tell me anything, they didn't communicate with me, and they didn't even read my ban appeal. No logos. And it's the Majority Report. It's not a fucking right-wing thing. Human nature. I was being the best chatter. Triggering the ignorance from the chuds. Right, Emma?
It's a total shit show.
It is. But you can do better. Right?
Die mad about it, bitch.
No.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Oh my goodness. But then you have to say that you love sluts. Because you are a... Play the reasonable Guna one. Damn it, what's going on with my mouse? I want to play the funny sound drops, but my mouse is being weird. Hold.
Be a reasonable gooner.
Be a reasonable Guna because...
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Everyone should love this.
Oh man, that lady's certainly saying bad words.
She is. All right. So, each of the players in the divisions finds a way to clip chimp or justify their positions they already carry. No learning. NPC zombie virus, pathologos, and to vindicate their actions. I was right by all of the Joe Rogan comedians, by the way. They're not comedians, they're just being smug at being cruel. They think that's comedy. Are trying to vindicate their platforming of these fascists on their podcasts and bullshit. Oh, actually I was right to support Trump, but I don't like that he's doing Nazi shit now, and they're all doing all those crimes against children. But actually, see, vindicate their actions. They already believe they're right. That's religion. You begin with the premise that your preacher or minister is always right about everything. Everything else is a way of justifying that. Same thing with Trump. Everything he does is right and good. So all the evidence in the world isn't going to change their mind.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Therefore, their use of language, logos, and self and reflection, ousia, is only a shallow pool, enough to be a zombie. So the way that they use language and reflection is to only justify their positions and validate their actions. Super important. As a result, there is a conflict or war between them as to which shall be the dominant image of man. As each gains and loses power, so society is transformed. Therefore, power should be with the logos and with the mastery of the model of everything. There we go, it's on the board. With the introduction of a new idea, these forces align themselves for and against one another. Remember, this new psychological system of understanding people are all responses to a new idea. Classes or kinds of interpretation responses to new truth. So as a new idea is introduced, they all position themselves. Hey, you know how Christianity was used to justify genocide and slavery and the oppression of women in disgusting ways? We're now learning that women should have equal rights. Well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to arrange ourselves? Are we going to find a new way of vindicating our religion? Are we going to create a sect religion? Are we going to reinterpret the Bible? How are we going to do? And how are we going to relate to those people who are like those left-wing people who think that universal rights should apply to everyone? What about those religions that oppress women even more? How are we going to align ourselves? With the introduction of a new idea, these forces or groups of interpreters align themselves for and against one another. A new idea coming into society may upset the power structure and the stability of the life of many. Right? As you learn to think for yourself, you might upset the power structure of your racist father or your fundamentalist mother. You're learning to think. You're introducing a new idea that they haven't reflected on yet. With change comes the loss of the advantages that has been derived from understanding the old. Right? The Jordan Petersons of the world, trying to justify a hierarchy in which the Christian white men get dominion over everyone else, especially women, because of garbage, nonsense. They want their privilege, right? All of the chuds, the MAGA chuds. Women can't have equal rights. I will lose all my privileges of being a man. With change comes the loss of the advantages that have been derived by understanding the old system. Learning and mastering how to take advantage of such changes directly affects the positions of honor and power within systems of society and within the soul. So, for us, within our soul. So, as we are learning from this reading and reflecting that we're doing on this channel, learning to take advantage of everything we're doing, this new way of reading, this new way of being, how to understand our problems, our dreams, how to understand everything with the graph of everything, graph of everything. Learning this will allow you to take advantage of it to gain honor and power within your soul for the benefits, learning and mastering how to take advantage of such changes through this new idea directly affects the positions of honor and power within systems of society and within the soul. For benefits are distributed according to positions of power. Right, in the negative way, through oppression, or, well, the true benefit we get by participating in providence, dream analysis, the logos, by learning to have the state of mind of a philosopher following and loving the logos. Philodianoia. A sense of stability comes with identifying with a system, so that when challenged, it may be defended furiously. Right? What does the Oracle say about that?
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, if I change this, who am I?
If I change this, who am I? So, personality maxing is difficult if you've identified within a system. I am a Jew, I am a Christian, I am a this, I am a MAGA. No, you're not. They are beliefs, you idiot. You have the beliefs. Do you say, I am my car, or do you have your car? Very simple principle, very simple dialectic to show that you aren't your belief. Were you a Christian before you could think? Does it allow you to change your mind? By the way, if it's something you have, are you your car? Therefore, very simple thing that we can introduce as a new idea that anyone can grasp, because, hey, are you your car? Therefore, are you your belief? Therefore, are you a Christian? Nope, it's a belief. If you identify with it, hey, you're only a Christian if you vote for Trump. How's that working out for MAGA? Well, we have to vote for Republican to protect the children, folks are pretty red in the face right now, aren't they? But by the way, if you don't identify with it, can you change your mind? Or personality max? Right?
I'm just asking for some Gooner men's skin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
My shirt is a little bit revealing today. It's a bit lower neck. And I'd flex, but I've got a problem with my elbow today, so I'm not doing Gooner stuff for my Gooner audience.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Jesus Christ,
I'm
Emma.
cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
Die mad about it, bitch.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Okay. Then you can, I don't know. My randomizer button is dangerous sometimes. Okay. So, you can feel a sense of stability by identifying with it. But if you do that, when it's challenged, you'll defend it furiously. The savage nature of human ignorance. Sock. Power holders always defend the status quo. We mentioned Pelosi and Schumer and all of the supposed left wing who are doing nothing to stop capitalism, religious fascism, political fascism, wealth inequality, doing nothing to stop these things because they defend the status quo because they get the billions of dollars from the lobbyists and the nice cushy jobs. Power holders always defend the status quo. Therefore, if we want a world to change, we have to look to those who don't have power, who are not benefited by systems of inequality. Make them make the laws, so long as they have mastered the map of everything on the board. Chief among them are the oligarchs. Yep. Both left and right, they are getting their money, baby. The oligarchs. They don't want the system to change. What about wealth equality? Wouldn't that make a better world? Be hard to exploit those children on Epstein Island if everyone had a house to live in and could afford food. Hard to manipulate them through money. Be hard to scam everyone, getting the people to act in a terrible way if they weren't impoverished and desperate. Why keep everyone impoverished and desperate? Oh, because the oligarchs think they can exploit them. Power holders always defend the status quo, and chief among them are the oligarchs, or powerful moneyed interests. If a new idea gains power, it threatens the stability of power holders. There you go. Jesus, the most ancient of truths, are always new to those loyal to the old. So, as we are saying, this is the new way of being, the new truth. But it's not. It's old. We're rediscovering it. This has always been the way of solving human problems. It's always been the one spiritual method. It's always been the model of education. But it's simply that we have been for generations loyal to our interpretations of our ignorance. The old. So one way it's new and one way it's not. Every interpretation is an attempt to save or preserve some advantage. Even our pathologos. All of those systems I mentioned hurt everyone. Even the billionaire class are hurting themselves, hurting our species, and creating a shittier world that they live in. Despite what they get away with. And our own pathologos that all human beings are fiercely, savagely loyal to, blocks our own benefit. It's a perceived advantage from the systems of oppression that you are in, within your soul, within society, or the cosmos. What is new is often only, and by the way, money circumvents that, because money is not about the soul. There is no capitalist principle to care about human beings. It's only ever exploit and extract. Profit. Socialize costs, privatize profits. So that's why this manifests so obviously and clearly in moneyed interests or oligarchs. Because there's no fucking concern about human well-being. Ever. So how can you say, being a fascist and murdering those children on Epstein Island doesn't actually help your soul? It doesn't actually create a good world that you'd want to live in? I don't care. Soul. It's making that bank, baby. So I can get away with my crimes, baby. But analogically within our soul, we are also fighting against those people that are triggered by understanding. The followers of those right-wing grifter content creators, podcasters, streamers, and viciously defend their dear leader, are only getting in their own way. They're only hurting themselves. It's a fake perceived benefit to preserve some advantage that they think they're getting. What is new is often only new to those in whom their vision is blocked. This is super important as well, because what we are discovering is our quest to know the self is always present. It's a new state of mind. It's a new recognition. It's a new enlightenment state because our vision is blocked, which is super important because we're developing stages of development based on blocks to the logos. That's our dialogue that we're writing here. The new psychological types of man. Yes! And when the new idea offers a fundamental change in the power structure, the struggle becomes intense. When the new idea argues that its truth overcomes past privileges, then the struggle becomes a life and death issue. Do we want to put an end to the disgusting savagery, mass murdering, exploitation of the billionaire Epstein class, even if they are murdering people who speak out against it? Why? Because benefiting human beings or having leaders that give two shits about those they're supposed to be leading is a new idea to those old systems of oppression and disgusting pathologos savagery. Now, because of what's been happening globally, it is becoming clear that there is no right-wing party. It's not a political party. It's a pathologos party. That's it. That's their name. We're all seeing that. The way people are blindly defending ignorance of Trump. The way Trump is functioning, not just genociding the Palestinians, but murdering their own people. The masked assault weapon carrying bureaucratic office of immigration. ICE, Gestapo, KKK thugs. Now, on this channel, we have said there is no Republican Party. It's just the Pathologos Party. 2 years ago when it started. I know that because it was one of the only comments I've had on a YouTube channel. Someone saying, I don't see how it's the Pathologos Party. And I said, well, watch the video again. Think about it. Keep it as a question. You'll see it. You're right. Hopefully, it's clear for everyone now with what's been happening. So, a new idea, understanding, equality, fairness, compassion, empathy, creating a life that we can afford, not just the billionaires. Hey, is the planet Earth a holiday resort for 500 people and all of us are just the entertainment or servants for them to exploit, abuse, murder at their pleasure? Or, fuck that, let's create a world we can all participate in. What will they do? Defend what they think is a privilege from this system of exploitation by murdering people. More people than they currently do. It's a life and death struggle. When the new idea argues that its truth overcomes past privileges, then the struggle becomes a life and death issue. Behind it all is the fear of the mind. That's the nature of human conflict. That's the human problem. All of the things we've been talking about, all of the disgusting things we can do, and all of the potential fantastic things we can do within our soul, within our society, and within the cosmos as an evolved race comes down to the excellence of mind, happiness, cohesion, unity, bliss, or the defense of sadistic privileges tied to inequality and injustice because there has been a learnt fear of the mind in your indoctrination into that family ignorance. It's all a war on the mind. Again, we're fighting against our own benefit. The possibility that a rational order is superior to all other claims, yep, you can't believe your way into flying a plane, you can't believe your way into fixing a computer. Why the fuck can you believe your way into politics or religion or capitalist wealth? Rational order is needed for everything. Rationality allows us to understand principles, universal principles, apply them universally, to benefit universally, everyone. It's a win-win-win-win. The possibility that a rational order is superior to all others forces a re-examination of an entire culture. What's that? Ousia and Logos. It's time we grow the fuck up. Reflect on ourselves for the first time in a long time. Don't just blindly swallow the shit. Oh, we need capitalism. We need a billionaire Epstein class because they are just better than everyone. Oh, and if they weren't telling you what to do, that includes being murdered by them for their sick pleasure, then you wouldn't have any will in life. Literally, I've seen Joe Rogan guests, the Weinsteins, bootlickers for fascism, saying that we need systems of capitalist oppression because we are too fucking stupid that if we weren't obeying our overlord billionaires, we wouldn't have will. We wouldn't have a life. That's the kind of sick shit they're telling us to swallow. We need systems of inequality. We need a billionaire political Epstein class. Surely we can't share the world's resources rationally and create a utopia where everyone has their means met. We need billionaires and trillionaires who can never even spend that wealth. Bullshit. Time to wake up, grow up, and reflect on our entire culture. And we have a spammer.
Wait, you shut up. You shut the hell up for a second. You're not real.
You're not real,
You
spammer.
piece of shit. There's a robot.
Like
Robot.
literally suck my dick, dude.
Come on, dude.
Further fill the internet with spam and AI slop.
Speaking of capitalist bullshit,
I hate to have to tell you this. That was fake. That was AI.
there's an AI guy. That is true, says Jesus, that behind all this drama and clash of ideas is the fear of mind and freedom. Who's fighting against left-wing principles or progressive principles? The Nazis, the fascists. What do they do when Trump comes in with the literal Nazis in masks and assault weapons, taking away freedom? Lick their boots. Those that fear the mind fear their own freedom that mind will bring. They have been taught Stockholm Syndrome to defend their own cruelty and slavery. Further, when it is tied to awakening, speaking of waking up, oh, the name of the channel, awakening to a new kind of thinking, we know that it will arouse the fear of the mind. So there's our triggering, putting up a frequency that attracts the biggest fuckheads, the chuds. Behind that fear is the new forms of order. Behind that fear is the new forms of order and understanding demand a difficult retraining and adjustment. So, what are we replacing? Disorder and ignorance belief, fourth hypothesis, with order and understanding. Hello, welcome. That order and understanding triggers like a vibrational frequency, like moths to a flame or flies to shit, triggers the fear of mind and freedom of those most loyal to their old beliefs and ways of being, the chuds, and will fight in a life and death struggle to preserve their ignorance and their perceived advantages from systems of hierarchical oppression. New chatter says, huh. You're gonna have to use more words than that if you want an answer to your question. So, a fear of mind, a fear of freedom, but also a fear that they will have to go through a difficult retraining and adjustment. But I like being a mega fascist. What's all this thing about understanding and equality and fairness and living a life of freedom, not being a slave to a CEO or a boss? That sounds difficult. And I've been taught to fear my own use of mind. Isn't that interesting? The nature of the human condition is a conflict of mind against mind because of a trained fear of mind and understanding and a fear of participating in order and understanding. So a fear of mind, a fear of freedom, a fear of understanding. What? Hang on a second. Back to our model of everything. It's a fear of mind, a fear of the freedom of self, and a freedom of understanding. It's a fear of the literal triad or threesome of self we are all here to reach. It's a fear of our own excellence that we have been trained into, a fear of the logos, which is why the greater you participate in logos, or the greater you are towards that true excellence of mankind, the more you are likely to trigger the pathologos negative response because of their fear in a way that's confusing. So the human condition is fear. The human condition is a war against your own interests, the state of self, the method to reach it, learning to understand or follow the logos, mastering the art of the dialectic, because from childhood you were forced or you were brought up in a family where you were taught a negative idea of yourself, a negative state of mind, a negative way of functioning, that necessarily has to work in opposition to your true self, your true mind, and your true understanding. Fourth hypothesis of Parmenides, moving into the third, second, and first, using the hypotheses of Parmenides as the map of human development. It's a fear of mind, it's a fear of freedom of self, it's a fear of understanding. We fear our excellence, to the point where you could be in a busy street, talking with someone, but the closer your conversation reflects the logos, it attracts like fucking frequency the biggest idiots, the biggest fascist thugs, the biggest chuds. Oh, what are those guys doing? I'm gonna dump my Jesus shit on them. The same way my parents dumped their Jesus shit on me. It's a repeating cycle of ignorance, keeping us locked in a pattern of savagery. And behind it, a fear of our own mind, understanding, and freedom of self. By the way, how do we reach the ideal state of mind? Logos. You have to follow the logos as the method. What's the dialectic? The mastery of the logos. How's the state of mind? Because we have an understanding of it. And we have the logos of wisdom to define it and preserve it. By the way, the logos inferred from their highest experience of mind and the highest functioning of understanding is needed to infer the logos of self, so we can recognize and see what was there the whole time. So really, it's a war of logos. The human condition is a blind loyalty to our pathologos ignorance against our own development of the logos that functions within the family, within the soul, within the society. The further you move, the more market share you get within whatever you study, the more likely you are to have that pathologos counterattack. And so our purpose, or the reason we are born onto this planet, is because we are carrying a pathologos mask of self, tied to a pathologos state of mind, a pathologos role that causes our failures. No, wisdom is an accumulated experience. Then the older people would be the wisest, and they're not. They're the most ignorant usually. they're most entrenched. You spend your life entrenching yourself in your mask, entrenching your negative states of mind, so that old people, you can see their bitterness or their states of mind etched into their face. What's wisdom then? This. Understanding. By the way, are you a wise computer scientist if you don't understand how computers work? No, so you better have some understanding. Are you a wise computer technician if you don't have experience to be able to apply your understanding to experience? Are you a wise computer technician if you can't apply your your knowledge of the model of the computer, what a computer should look like, your understanding of its parts, to fix other computers? Not just fix computers, but perfect, maybe make computers better. Now apply that to the soul. But the thing is, as you develop an understanding and mastery of computer science, there will come a point where you will fall into your problem. Yeah, the soul. You've got a soul, right? You've got some force within you that desires your good, your belly. You got some heart or some force within you that motivates you to do things outwardly in the world. So you desire your goodness, you seek your activities in the world, and you've got some force within you that thinks, that reasons. No, biology is the physical body. The soul is the psychic force. Right? You can reason. That's not physical. You seek something in the world outwardly. The soul is... But is there anything of this you disagree with? Do you desire a tasty, good sandwich? Then you've got some force motivating you to eat a good sandwich. By the way, you have to go out and plan the activities you want in your day. Don't you seek good and true activities? To eat a sandwich or do that activity, don't you have to reason about how to reach it? So we could take those three forces and give it a single name and say soul. Now, what we are seeing is our fear to the excellence of soul is our fear from, isn't that simply the body desiring nourishing foods? No, it's not your body, it's your consciousness. Is your body typing right now, or is it your mind using your body to type? Like you have some consciousness, right? Some mind. These are forces of mind, forces of the psyche. Wouldn't you say? Or if you mean when you say my soul wanting to eat. Right, so that's in the physical analogy, right? So, by the way, everything that you do, don't you want to a goodness for yourself? Don't you want to be better? You study something at school because you want to be more good as a person, you want to be more capable. And by the way, if you didn't think it was good for you to eat, like you're on a hunger strike, your body might want food, but your soul might say, hang on a second, I'm not going to eat a good sandwich, I'm on a hunger strike, or I'm on a diet. It's your mind. Three fundamental motivating forces of your mind. Now, by the way, what's our highest good that we want for ourselves? Our highest state of mind. Our highest good way of functioning to solve problems and reach our excellence. What about withdrawal symptoms? My brain may not want it, but the body demands it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Despite the withdrawal symptoms, you might decide it's not good for me to keep taking heroin, right? So your body might say, do it, but you're not an ape. Well, that's a bit harsh on apes. There are some people only motivated by their physical desires, yes, and we are learning all about them as the Epstein files are being released. Only motivated by cruel, physical, sadistic desires. Now, it's not just physical desires, they're not just doing sexual things, they're also enjoying the torture and murder of the children. So there's also a psychological idea of what's most good that plays into the goodness that we seek. Because our reasoning plays effect. Our reasoning decides what we desire for ourselves, and our reasoning decides what we should go out and seek. For example, some people want to be a great athlete and are willing to cheat their way into to win the title. But there are some people who have a different state of mind that reasons differently, saying, I'm not going to win the title if it means cheating. Therefore, they outwardly seek something different. Then it's no longer the soul that dictates what we want. I don't understand your reasoning. We're saying it's the opposite. You reason about what's good. That motivates what you desire for yourself, what you think is good for yourself, and it motivates what you go out and do in the world. Right? Have you ever gone out and done something? Then that force is an aspect of the soul. Now, what we are seeing is that may not be an actual thing. It may just be a name to point to the unity of these forces of soul. Because it may be that our true goal, our true state is the soul. There may just be one soul of the cosmos. The soul. Just as there is one mind, pure mind, divine luminosity. Just as there is the one self, the one self. So, the sense of a temporary soul may be the self identifying with our pathologos, false image of the self from our childhood upbringing, experiencing the negative states of mind, trapped in a negative role, causing our failures. Our job, therefore, is to understand that, the cause of human problems, which is a human war against the mind, or played out as states of mind. Does this pathologo state of mind win, or does the new one, the true one, the rational, ordered one, the one that benefits everyone? That's the problem. The fourth hypothesis, belief, functions in opposition to the whole. We've already seen that. Third hypothesis, understanding, benefits by purifying the ignorance, allowing us to reach the ideal state of mind and soul of the cosmos and know the self. That's the war. Now, if it was just that simple, then we would all get on board. Just to clarify, when you say soul, do you mean the Abrahamic religious sense? Nope. No. It's just a word that points to, hey, have you ever desired something? Like you've desired something good for yourself? Like a sandwich? Or to play a fun video game? And we can point to that thing that wants what's good within you. Have you ever planned some activity? Have you ever reasoned about anything? The soul is the name for those three forces. Yeah, you could call it consciousness. When I desire something that is bad for myself. No, you don't desire something bad. You may be mistaken. That's why our problems are caused by belief. If you by definition, you seek your good. But believers can be tricked into believing something is good when it's bad. That's why Trump appeals to the religious and Netanyahu to the religious. They have been taught to fear mind, understanding, and self, and accept belief. So the preacher tells them, oh, what you actually desire is to give me your money. Trump says what you actually desire is to let me remove all social services and put you in prisons and enslave you. Now, they can't use understanding for that. That's why it's belief. Right. So what you're calling self-destructive impulses are based on a failure to reason well. So that's the reasoning part of your soul. Therefore, you think voting for Trump or being a religious person is good when it ain't. That's why we need education, true education, the logos. Now, because beliefs get you to be a slave within the family, a slave within the society, and play a negative role within society, the cosmos, they have to teach you to fear understanding. We can't reason self-destructive impulse, and acting on them is to be unreasonable. Can't reason self... Right, if it was rational, if it was understanding, if you understood what was good for you, then it's true, it's truth. If you believe someone else, you haven't understood it for yourself, then it's not. That's why it's all belief. The fundamental nature of human problems is a fear of our ideal, mind, understanding, and self. I think you misread my previous chat. We'll say it in different words. Acting on them is to be reasonable. No. If you desire what's bad, if you desire to drink bleach, you do so because you think you will benefit. Just as the people who maintain the systems of oppression, capitalism, religion, current political system run by oligarchs, do so because they think they benefit. They get the profit. They get to go to Epstein Island. They get to genocide the Palestinians and take their land. They get to earn profits from exploiting the working class. It's not. It's harm. They're harming their soul, they're harming society, and they're harming the human race. And they can only market their bullshit with beliefs. Jesus wants us to be in charge. You need capitalism because the invisible hand. It's just all nonsense beliefs. That's to be not reasonable. Belief is ignorance, just as understanding and direct experience of the nature of reality is wisdom, so too our negative functioning through belief and the negative states of mind that we're addicted to is ignorance. So one way you can say, well, it's a war of our negative states of mind we get from our family against our higher states of mind. It's a war of what state of mind wins. Or you could say it's a war against freedom. The freedom to be yourself and seek your self goals, as opposed to be limited by your pathologos mask. Or you could say it's a war of belief against understanding. What we are seeing is it's all three. The pathologos is at war with the logos. That's the nature of being a human being. We all get our mask, negative states of mind, and role that keeps us stuck in our problems. Because we are here, because one of the problems our soul faced in our reincarnation journey is a block from a higher state of being. Evolution into higher dimensions. Therefore, we are here to participate in a soul that plays out the implication of that false identification with self that prevented our spiritual development on higher dimensions. That's the life you picked. But it would just be cruel to suffer the negative implications of a false image of yourself without a possibility of learning. Therefore, our purpose here is to learn how to surface the false idea of self, the pathologos. That's the cause of your problems, to escape your problems and suffering, and use that freedom to develop true understanding of self, to know the self, to know its expression as the higher state of mind, and to master its functioning through the understanding. That's the dialectic. Therefore, the purpose of life is to master the art that perfects the logos and purifies the pathologos. That's called the dialectic. The meaning of life, therefore, necessarily is to master the dialectic. But the difficulty is, as you learn to master the dialectic, you are seeking your highest goal, you will trigger your own war. Likely it's playing out. I haven't read your last two things because I'm about to read them, but likely this war against understanding is playing out for you in this very conversation. You will feel a loyalty to your old ways of thinking, your old beliefs. And this truth, the truth of the meaning of life, the nature of human problems, and your highest excellence will challenge your old beliefs. And you will defend your old beliefs because you believe you benefit from them. And you also fear the freedom that you will get if you don't identify with what you think you are. This is your mask. I know how to be this way. I know how to feel this way. I know how to manipulate with this mask. I don't want to lose those benefits. A fear of your own freedom, a fear of your highest intelligence, and a fear of understanding, because there's a perceived benefit to your role that will be manifesting in some way in this very conversation about the truth. Because truth, it's a new truth. No, it's not. It's only a new truth to you. It's an ancient truth. It's our blindness to it that makes it new to us. I'll try this again. We can't reason self-destructive impulses and acting on them to be reasonable. We can't reason. Right, there is a shallow pool of reason that's needed. You need some kind of intelligence to reason that it's good to be a Jew, or good to be a Mormon, or good to be a MAGA, or whatever your belief is. There is some sort of a shallow pool. It's like a kiddie's pool at the water park. It's full of piss. Enough piss poor reasoning to identify, because we feel like there's a sense of stability, that comes with identifying with that system. But it's very, very limited. So there is some reasoning, enough to justify your beliefs, that function in opposition to true reasoning. That's the logos. Or simply, we can't reason A to be reasonable, being self-destructed impulses and acting on them. So what we are seeing is all of our self-destructive impulses or blocks to our own benefit are understandable. So you're right in saying you can't reason yourself out of a position you didn't reason yourself into. That's why we must necessarily, if we are to be moral human beings, understand how to apply reason to find the cause of our blind loyalty to our ignorance. That's why we're reading this book. We're understanding that all problems, including our self-destructive impulses, are understandable with a certain structure. Just as you can't believe your way into fixing your broken computer, you can't believe your way into fixing your problems. Now, all of that we've said is true. And I think we've gone through a step-by-step reasoning addressing where you are at your level of thinking, and using the text to answer your questions. So there's no interpretation or belief. It's from the text. It's relevant to the questions that you are asking, meeting you where you're at. Hopefully identifying your level of attachment or your level of interpretation, and hopefully showing that while you can see yourself as a part within a system, there is a whole. Hopefully sharing what you need to know is, hey, while I might think that my worldview is the only one, there seems to be a structure, a rational, harmonious order that allows for my development. That's the dialectic, giving you everything you need to learn. But there's one important feature. You won't listen. You just won't. Why? Because it requires a rare character, courage, and personal motivation to want to learn. Why? Because your perceived benefit of learning what it would be like to be enlightened, to know the self, to overcome all of your problems, not just in this lifetime, but overcome the chains of your ignorance and suffering in this lifetime, but also the prison of reincarnation. That imagination has to be higher than your imagination of the benefit you get by staying stuck in the ignorance that you currently have. You need to awaken your imagination. Otherwise, you will have no imagined benefit that you will desire for yourself. There's your belly. You will have no imagination of a different activity, a new activity that you're not used to. There's your heart. And you won't be able to awaken good reasoning that can allow you to reach those goals. Reason to bring things into a oneness, seek the truth, and desire the good. Why is that important? Because the true self can be understood as the one self, the true self, and the good self. It's your choice. Imagination is a key part of it. Courage to imagine is part of it. But also, a courage to seek the truth, even though it's unfamiliar. Temperance, to desire the highest good, in spite of, as you said, your immediate physical gratification. So a virtue that applies to your good desiring. Temperance, a virtue that applies to your outward moving. Courage, to seek the truth, even if it feels different or scary, or feels untrue. A virtue that applies to your reasoning. Wisdom. There's your answer to your earlier question. What's wisdom? The virtue that you practice with your reasoning to use the logos that you are learning from these texts and conversations to plan. The fourth virtue is that of the whole, to do all of this all the time. Therefore, to desire, to seek, and reason according to the logos at all time, that's called the dialectic. That's the one activity that can unify your soul and is the meaning of life for all intelligent beings, especially humans, at this stage of evolution. Now notice, those virtues are a practice. You don't have to be good enough to start. You start now. You start to practice those virtues as you go, right now. There's no prerequisites for that. There's one. The prerequisite is your own motivation. And as we've been seeing, the human condition is a war against freedom, mind, understanding, or logos, because of the perceived benefits we have by being loyal to our old shadow of those things. A perceived benefit, imagination. You have to imagine a higher goal. For Socrates, it took listening to a musician. The musician played something beautiful that made him curious. There's your ousia, the capacity of self-reflection that we have. And within that beauty that made him curious, he saw that there was an order. That's the logos. That's what we have. That's what we have to work with as human beings. Self-reflection, or ousia, and understanding, language, logos. It was that self-reflection triggered by the beauty of the music and the desire for understanding triggered by the perceived ordered structure, true ordered structure. You can't believe your way into playing guitar. You don't understand how it works. That awoken his desire for true philosophy. He said, hey, if there is an ordered structure giving rise to good functioning and beauty within music, is that a reflection of a higher order? The dialectic. Then he met that beautiful girl, talking in a way that reflected the logos. Got into the reading that we do here, and then seeked to talk personally to a master of the dialectic, Parmenides, where he learnt the actual dialectic that we're here to learn, and then he was able to apply it to dreams. If the dialectic is how you see and reason, just as interpretation blocks us and keeps us tied to our ignorance, therefore, to non-interpretively understand your dreams, you must apply the dialectic. So that's Socrates' journey to become the greatest of all people, having completed his work here. And so, lots of different ways to understand the human condition that we can put on this board. In essence, an opposition and fear of that, and a perceived benefit of this. Let's keep reading. Thank you for the questions. I expect I will never see you again. Not because of any slight to you, just that has been my experience on the planet here, and that's an understanding that we can apply to experience. There's your wisdom. As a principle, you won't like anything I say. And as a principle, you need to be having a reason to care. Otherwise, as a principle, be the last thing you want to do. Your perceived benefit of this, your pathologos, will outweigh your desire to master the dialectic understanding, true freedom, true mind, and true providential functioning. Both in this lifetime, and because this is outside of time, anywhere beyond. Good enough sales pitch? Probably not. Maybe I need a propaganda network behind me, like Fox News. Who knows? So, a sense of stability becomes with identifying with the old system. And while this is an ancient truth that we are learning about, it's new to those who are interpreting through the old, those loyal to the old and interpretation. Every interpretation is an attempt to save the old and preserve some advantage. So even in this conversation, even if you agreed with the questions that were being asked and the steps of reasoning, you might have been pissed or not like it. I don't want to agree with these things I have seen for myself, because there is an advantage of thinking there is no mind, we're just physical bodies. Therefore, I don't feel guilty about exploiting my employees. I don't feel guilty about beating my dog the way Daddy did. See, a perceived advantage in loyalty to the old that prevents your participation in the dialectic to move you from ignorance to truth, which brings your benefit that you can understand for yourself, verify yourself, and use to reach the nature of self, and also turn around and help others along the way. That's the triad, threesome of self. So, but only when you are able to equally apply yourself to finding your root pathologos belief that obscures the participation in the new, can you remove your blocks and see what was there to be seen the whole time. So, and the more it challenges your old way of being, the more intense you will fight back. When the new idea argues that its truth overcomes past privilege, then the struggle becomes life and death. I like being a billionaire. I like looking down on people because I'm a Mormon, because I'm a Jew, because I'm a Muslim. I like looking down at people because I'm from a rich family, etc. Behind it is a fear of the mind. What would it be like to be free of that and just be yourself and think for yourself? The possibility that a rational order is superior to all other claims forces a ousia of the entire culture. But that's good, but we have to work with. We either in the kiddies piss pool, the shallow pool that the kiddies piss in, of ousia, reflecting only enough to repeat the catchphrases from Fox News or from your minister at your Sunday school? Or we use it properly. We wake up and become adults to reflect on our culture, to find the rational order that underlines all of our problems and our excellence and reality. So, behind all of this drama is of the clash of ideas is the fear of mind and freedom. I've been linking freedom to self. Further, and you can wonder why that is. Further, when it is tied to awakening to a new kind of thinking, we know that it will arouse the fear of the mind. Behind that fear is that new forms of order and understanding will demand a difficult retraining and adjustment. To that, Socrates says, the pull to oppose the new and resist change is a fundamental conservative impulse. There is our finally, as I've said, we've talked about the conservative parties or right-wing parties being not a political party, but a pathologos party for the last 2 years. I mentioned that today. Here we have it in black and white. Oppose the new and resist change is a conservative and the conservative impulse. As looking forward to meaningful change is an opposite movement. Therefore, the true political party or progressive party would be the Logos Party. We don't have it currently, but this is what it would be. The issue between these forces hinders on whether the proposals of each benefit the growth and development of the soul. If your politicians do not have an understanding and knowledge of the ideal of soul, they are not qualified. If your computer technician doesn't have a model of the ideal of the computer and an understanding of its parts, he's not qualified to fix your computer. Same with flying a plane, doing surgery, and everything else. When it can be demonstrated that only one is true, that's understanding. Belief is not anything about truth. And reflects a higher truth, right? The principles of reality. Then the issue becomes critical. Right? How important is it to establish universal healthcare, universal income, universal wealth equality, etc.? Critical. What's that? Truth. Universally true. Not one rule for me, one rule for thee, says the billionaires. No, that's true. And it's needed for benefit and universal growth and development. Universal principles reflect a higher truth. That's the standard. In this struggle over truth, it becomes necessary to say which of these comes closest to revealing and making intelligible the truth of the ideas being contested. Make intelligible, able to be seen and grasped with the mind. Revealing, bringing us from ignorance to that seeing. Where one can confirm what we have explored through a process of reasoning through words. So, confirm for yourself. And appealing to the kind of experience that comes along with an encounter with intelligence. So, if our friend in chat stuck around, I was a gambling man, I'd say no. But if he had, he would have an answer to his question. But here's the thing, was it a real question? Or was it, as we've said, a use of piss language and piss reflection, the kiddie pool full of piss that all the kids piss in? Some adults piss in the pool as well. Don't do that. Come on.
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
And I'm sad for you. Because your use of words and pretend self-reflection was just to justify the positions you already had and vindicate your actions because A, you don't know you're carrying a false image of yourself in reality, and B, you think your way of being has a perceived benefit, and C, you fear change, freedom, understanding, and your true mind. Because of D, your origin scene of your pathologos. So if you were actually interested in real dialectic, ousia and logos, you will be curious enough to stick around and you will have found an answer to your question. Reasoning through words. There's your logos. Appealing to the kind of experience, ousia, that comes along with an encounter with the intelligence. That's wisdom. So, just as in the physical world of appearances, the parts, so if this is the parts and the top circle is whole in the Venn diagram, the physical world of appearance, a model of belief and activity that, as I think the chatter was talking about, there's only the physical body, there is no mind. To reject the mind, that's ignorance. The right-wing belief party, conservatives, conserve their ignorance and belief, and their bootlickers, the left-wing party, the establishment left, not true progressive, to reject any principles or understanding. I guess we have to capitulate to the fascists. I guess we have to compromise with the fascists. Fuck off. If you're going for surgery and the doctor says you need to remove your spleen and you say, let's compromise. I think I should get a new lung and you think I should remove my spleen. Let's just compromise and do something with my stomach. No, it's not how surgery works, you idiot. Ignorance. The two political parties reflect the two fundamental forces of ignorance. Wisdom is reasoning through words as we've done in this conversation today. Understanding. And appealing to your own direct experiences that come with an encounter of pure intelligence, which is a non-physical experience of mind knowing itself. That's the experience of knowing with the experience of understanding. That's the model and its activity, or the ousia and the logos together, wisdom. We make use of both of that in the art of the dialectic. Therefore, our purpose, if it involves a learning and an integration of that learning and nurturing, is the use of the art, the dialectic to purify our ignorance, experience mind, and to know the self, which is its own experience or encounter and understanding, which gives rise to its reflection in mind and our participation as souls in our physical world, giving the triad that we're after. The ousia and logos of self, the ousia and logos or wisdom of mind, and our functioning through the dialectic as a soul. Or maybe the soul. That's the triad. First, second, and third hypothesis. Pretty neat. I think it's pretty neat. What do you think?
Hey, you can't say that to her. You show her some respect.
Show who some respect?
Gooner bait.
Gooner bait.
They're secretly turned on by it.
That's right. That's why it's Gooner bait.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
Come on, don't keep
You've been
shame.
a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous
goodness.
spanking right now.
Dude, suck my dick.
Come on, you two, don't fight. Nonsense. Nonsense.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, who want to kiss a fox.
Kiss a fox. So, reasoning through words and appealing to the kind of experience that comes along with the encounter of intelligence. Confirms everything we've just said. Not a belief, not an opinion. Wisdom. When reasoning brings with it a quietness of mind, and one can drop away everything to see what sees. then, it is then that sight opens itself up to itself. The self. The drowning oneself in empty phrases breeds chaos. Our kitty's piss pool of Usiran language. Empty phrases, catchphrases, buzzwords, whether we are repeating the stuff we hear from our family, or our culture, or our priest and minister, our favorite content creator, or our political figurehead. Empty phrases breeds chaos. What we've just shown is, thumbs up, the dialectic confirmed in the direct encounter with pure intelligence, developed through the understanding, reason as we've been doing, takes us from ignorance to wisdom, which requires us to understand the theory of the model of everything, because in that journey, we have to recognize that we will develop the logos and have counterattacks that we have to recover from in dream analysis and midwifery, leading to that wisdom of understanding and direct experience. But as we apply that reasoning to the question, wisdom or mind, and purifying our problems in the way that we've been talking about, it leads to a different goal, a quietness of mind, where one can drop away everything, including wisdom, to see what it is that is seeing even wisdom. It is then that sight opens itself up to itself, the self. Therefore, understanding to the purification of our blocks through that development of interpretation, to experience intelligence itself, the use of understanding to reflect on that, leading to a quietness of sight. So if this is mind minding mind in a oneness, there is a quietness of even that for sight seeing self through a quietness of mind. First hypothesis, ninth oxiding picture. Still wondering about that 10th. We haven't got there yet. And just as that recognition of sight seeing itself as self brings a quietude, empty phrases, the kiddie piss pool, from a fear of the freedom in mind and a perceived benefit of our old role and way of being, drowns us in empty phrases breeding chaos or problems. Let's hear Sock say it. When reasoning brings with it, the struggle over truth. Let's read the whole thing. The pull to oppose. So let's see all of that in one paragraph. The pull to oppose the new and resist change is a fundamental conservative impulse, as looking forward to meaningful change is an opposite movement. The issue between these forces hinges on whether the proposals of each benefit the growth and development of soul, and how can conserving the old, or beliefs or ignorance, allow for growth and development? It can't. It's stagnant. When it can be demonstrated that only one is true, so no compromise, Pelosi, Schumer, and reflects a higher truth, find someone qualified, progressives, then the issue becomes critical. In this struggle over truth, it becomes necessary to say which of these comes closest to revealing and making intelligible the truth of the ideas being contested. Notice the word truth is in capitals. He's pointing to the truth of mind or self. That's the higher intelligibility or the paradigm. When one can confirm what we have explored through their own process of reasoning through words and appealing to the kind of experience that comes with an encounter with intelligence. Wait, where can one confirm what we have explored? Where can one confirm what we have explored through a process of reasoning through words and appealing to the kinds of experience that comes with an encounter with intelligence? Okay, so these two dudes, Sock and Jesus, have been appealing to their highest vision or experience, intelligence itself, and they've been reasoning about it through words. Where can we do it? Hopefully on this channel, in this community, or relationships that you develop too. But now here he goes beyond where Jesus was, because while Jesus seems to have had an experience of the intelligence, he didn't go to the self. So this is where Socrates can help Jesus. When reasoning brings with it a quietness of the mind, and one can drop away everything to seize what it is that sees, it is then that sight opens itself up to its sight, thus self. So now we have a hypothesis about what self is. Sight itself is self. Equally, the drowning of oneself in empty phrases breeds chaos. Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. Big stream today. Lots of good stuff. 3.5 hours. It's a biggie. Wow. Super important. We have the graph of everything. Good questions we had today in our chat. Understanding the nature of humanity. A war against mind, freedom, and understanding because of the perceived benefits of belief and the associated way of being within the family tribe. Plays out within the soul, plays out within the city, plays out within the cosmos. And even when we use the art of dialectic to purify our pathologos and perfect our logos in divine luminosity, there's one further step. Understand even that. And when reasoning, notice reasoning brings even a quietness of mind, self or sight can see itself to know the self. That's our goal. That's the drama we face along the way. That's why we face the drama along the way. That's how we address the drama, to show that one is truth and reflects the principles of higher truth and benefits the growth and development of souls. That's how we win the argument. That's why the conservatives will fight back. Again, predictable because of this map. That's how we win the argument. We want to create a society, relationships, culture, and cosmos where we can reason through words with reference to our highest vision of intelligence. That's the best, that's dialectic. And having met those conditions, we can reason even about this whole process, bring a quietness of mind so that self can see itself as sight itself. Anything else? Repetition, images, copying, shapes and colors, imitating our models just breeds chaos. Notice, reasoning for ourselves through dialogue, understanding, third hypothesis, appealing to the highest experience of intelligence itself, mind, second hypothesis. applying reasoning to that to bring a quietness of mind, quietness of mind, so sight can see itself as self. First hypothesis, self. There's our triad. Threesome of self. By the way, speaking of threesome, it's also the third member in your relationship, because that's exactly the ideal that you and your beloved can focus on as you go through that journey. Expecting the insights, expecting the counterattacks, perfecting the dialectic as you understand them to free yourself from the unsuspected loyalty to your ignorance, the fake perceived benefit that keeps you blocked, overcoming that to reach your goal together in the model of the true relationship. Sound good? Sound fun?
You can be a gooner.
And if that's your model of relationships, you can also be a gooner.
I think it's awesome.
And we all think it's awesome. Don't you, Emma?
They're secretly turned on by it.
Yes, and hopefully you're turned on by this. Be a reasonable gooner. Here's my reasonable gooner. Not on the board yet.
Be a reasonable gooner.
So we can all be reasonable gooners. Lots of fun. Worth doing, worth seeing. Curious. Hey, how does it work as a frequency? Why do the greatest chads draw in through some vibrational resonance the biggest chuds? How do we overcome it? Lots to wonder about. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and follow on Discord, donate to the channel if you like, and there's a text below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.